How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean, where providence and prowess and squalor, grew up to be a hero and a scholar, the $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, he was placed in charge of a trading charter.
Wow, thank you, Lynn. Whoa!
I brought Lynn here today.
Wait a second. Is that Lin-Manuel Miranda's ghostwriter? Brandon Shillingford?
Is he in your house, Brandon?
He's like right next to me. I'm in his house actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's that Garfield poster?
Surprise! Like Lynn is my sugar daddy. We've been having an affair throughout all of quarantine.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I'm in New York right now.
He's lucky to have you.
He is.
Give him a smooch real quick.
Man, he's very stoic.
Yeah, he's very stone cold. He's whatever he wants.
He doesn't give me any affection. He's a very cold lover. Very, very withholding lover.
But he buys me all the criterions I want. So I mean,
yeah.
Did he paint that Garfield Nodi portrait himself?
I painted it for him.
Oh, you painted it.
And you know what he told me when I gave it to him?
What?
Thank you.
I'm surprised.
He's a lot more cold.
Oh, that was very thoughtful.
He's a lot colder than you think, He's not going to say anything. Like, he's just like...
It looks like he keeps trying to say something. You keep talking over him.
No,
he's like mid-sentence, and you keep talking over him.
No, he just has like a jawbreaker. He's chewing.
Oh.
His jaw is actually broken right now.
His jaw is actually broken. I hit him for the show. Welcome to Cinemania. I am Brandon Shillingford. I'm your host, along with my co-host,
Landon Roberts,
Adam Cheek,
and Sam Goodrich.
This is the show where we discuss all things film, some film news, and also our film for this week, All That Jazz, which Sam recommended to us last week. Thank you, Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sam.
Excited. Thank you.
Yeah, and also at the very end of the show, Mr. Adam Cheek will be suggesting his film, which we are all very excited about.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still hoping it's Cars.
I'm hoping it's Bone Tomahawk.
I am still deciding.
Please don't choose Bone Tomahawk, Adam. Like, I'm begging you. I'm actually begging you. Please.
I need to rewatch it, but I'll do that on my own time. I have a few ideas for my next few movies.
Oh, God.
Okay. I hope it's
It's either Cars
the Vomit Doll trilogy.
It's War and Peace in its entirety.
It's The Art of Racing in the Rain.
It's not even the War and Peace movie, it's the book.
This is the book. All right, guys, book club. I hope it's Trash Humpers.
No, book club.
He just recommended Lolita.
Oh, God. Both versions.
Both movies and the book.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to make that joke.
Please don't. So, what have you guys been watching this week? It's a long week. What have you guys been watching?
Well, I'll get mine out of the way. I've watched way too much, I guess.
Do you have a presentation for us?
No, I don't. So first I watched, I think I had mentioned this before, where I saw the remake of Point Break a few years ago because it was on HBO and there was nothing else on. That was not good, but I watched the original when it came on IFC on Tuesday, and that was great. I really love, especially the parachuting sequence later in the movie. There's a lot of great action in there. The presidential masks are, of course, super iconic by now. Keanu's great in it. The next day, there was a couple movies leaving Netflix on that Friday.
Hold on, Adam. I have a question.
Yeah.
When does Nick Frost show up?
What?
When does Nick Frost show up?
What?
Nick Frost, the actor?
Yeah, I know who Nick Frost is.
When does he show up? When does he run in there, right? And he has his gun and he falls in the ground and shoots in the air. The iconic moment.
I had to research
the original Point Break or the remake?
I didn't know they parodied it in Hot Fuzz. Okay.
What?
I did not know that. I watched.
Wait, you've seen Hot Fuzz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the whole thing where it's like, all right, what are we going to watch? Point Break or Bad Boys 2?
Bad Boys. You only seen Bad Boys 2. seen it.
So the next day, there was a couple movies leaving Netflix on Friday. Then I decided to watch. They both coincidentally starred Bradley Cooper, and both coincidentally ended with Bradley Cooper running for office. The first one was Limitless, which I remember being really excited about in 2011 when I saw promos on TV. I never got around to it. It was pretty good. That night, I rewatched The Departed on IFC because I love that movie to death. I hadn't seen it in several years. It was actually going to be at the Bird on my birthday this year, but that all kind of went down the drain when the virus hit. Then the next day, I finished. I'm currently in a conversation.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What do we refer to it now? It's like when the Fire Nation attacked, when the virus hit. We all.
I was gonna
Taking on a persona.
I was gonna see my family, and then Fire Nation attacked. I've been the team.
Right.
But then the next day, I'm currently in a message conversation with the Movie Database on their website about getting this relisted as a movie because then it'll be taken off Letterboxd. But I finished the 6-part series that SB Nation's been working on, the history of the Seattle Mariners. I talked about this a little bit last week. There's not a ton to say, except that it closes out really great and that Felix Hernandez was never appreciated enough as a pitcher and never got his due ever. But it's a really, really fascinating documentary. I don't think you have to be a baseball fan to be really captivated by it. But that night, this was the second Thursday in a row that HBO was running back-to-back movies I hadn't seen.
Do we lose Adam?
Which movies?
Oh, I think we lost Adam.
Rest in peace, Adam.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a Cinemania show without Adam losing connection.
Okay, so let's guess what Adam watched.
Ooh.
What were the classic films that came on back to back?
He watched
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder,
Yeah.
followed by
Ford v Ferrari.
9 Lives.
The classic film.
Nine
Lives.
Eric Song.
Okay, am I back?
Oh, you're back, Adam?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. When did it cut me off? My internet's been screwing up.
You were talking about the
Nine Lives.
back-to-back movies that you saw, which we're assuming
Okay, so
were
the
Nine
back-to-back
Lives.
movies. First up was Castaway. That was really good. Tom Hanks is great in it.
Close.
And then the others came on, which is 2001 movie with Nicole Kidman. One of the more effective horror movies I've seen in a while.
Is that the
Brandon,
one that's a remake, or is that The Orphanage? Am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of something else.
Okay.
Do you guys care if I spoil it?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
The others?
Yes. Don't spoil it.
Okay.
It's
With
a good movie.
the main twist, I thought I was going to lose interest after it, but it actually didn't because it kept kind of spiraling, and it was really, really super engaging. I really enjoyed it. The next day, the other movie leaving Netflix that I was watching that I decided to watch was Place Beyond the Pines, which I haven't seen. Blue Valentines. This is Derek Cianfrance, however you pronounce that movie after that. But I thought it was a really solid movie. It drags a bit in parts. But I thought Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper and Ray Liotta were all really good in it. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a movie you kind of have to just kind of watch. Landon, Brandon, I know you've seen it. I don't know about you, Sam.
I've not seen it.
It's pretty solid though.
What do you think about the plot structure?
Like the 3-act kind of
Torn
thing.
on that.
The 3-act structure.
Yeah.
I think it flowed fine. I didn't really have a huge problem with it. I thought it flowed well from, I won't spoil anything, Sam, but from Gosling's character to Cooper's involvement in his story to the conclusion with Dane DeHaan and other kid that I don't know his name. I didn't really have a problem with it, but I do love the way the movie was shot.
Okay. I think you'll love Blue Valentine. You should watch that.
Yeah. And after we watched All That Jazz last night, which we'll get to, and then on Saturday, I did something that I started to regret a little bit, where TNT was airing all 3 Rush Hour movies. I saw the first one 2 weeks ago, and I just kind of said screw it and watched all 3, knocked them out in one day. I told Sam before we started, it really, because Brett Ratner's kind of a terrible person already, but it really feels like in the second one he doubled down on, hey, I've got 2 minorities as lead characters. We're going to double down. I can make fun. The script can make fun of their respective races without me looking bad. It really felt like he doubled down on that. And in the third one, the third one's kind of saved by the ending sequence on the Eiffel Tower, which is pretty good. But other than that, I don't know. When I started the second one, Chris Tucker, I like him. I like him and Jackie Chan's chemistry a lot, but I don't know, like the high-pitched kind of voice comedy that he seems to be kind of set in kind of annoyed me after a while. And then I guess by the third one, I was desensitized to it because I didn't notice it as much. And then finally, which I guess I'll throw to Brandon with this as well, was Sunday night, the final 2 episodes of The Last Dance aired, and it was the kind of the culmination of everything, where the storyline that it's been following, it follows of course the storylines 1 in 98 and 1 in the years leading up to it, going through every major character that went into that NBA finals, and they coalesce really well at the end of episode 9, and then episode 10 is just all about that championship series. And I think it was just as a whole, it's just a really, really fascinating look at the greatest, to some, to most, the greatest basketball player of all time, and just his approach to the game, how he handled the game versus life, and how he had similar approaches to each of them, and how that entire team just came together. Yeah, Brandon, go ahead.
Handoff, tag. You're tagged in.
I'm handing it to you.
This is a Euro step. That is a basketball move that Michael Jordan often does. Segue from the complete same segment. I don't know if we need a segue, but we're going to keep doing it. The Last Dance. Great. It slaps. That's my
It does.
Is it over?
5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars. Well, I would give it maybe like, I think because the ending for me was a little bit underwhelming. I don't know. Because like the way
Was it due to that Pearl Jam song?
Oh, no, it ended with a Pearl Jam song that went viral on Twitter, and I was very happy with that.
Viral?
There was a lot of people talking.
God,
it was a
why would you end a series with a Pearl Jam song?
It was a Twitter moment because the song is so if you read the lyrics, the song is so incredibly appropriate for the entire series. But as a fan, I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, the series was very, very, like the ending was very underwhelming for me. I don't know, because the way it was promoted in the weeks and months leading up to the show's premiere, it was touted as something that would be like kind of different to like your regular 30 for 30, which I was like really excited for. And it kind of did differentiate from that regular format of like just like interviews, footage, because there's a lot of really, really like kind of really intimate behind the scenes footage. And I feel like for a lot of the series kind of like deviated from that. But I don't know, I thought the ending was kind of underwhelming and like very, very, I don't know, it was just, it ended on a note that left me very unsatisfied, because throughout like the entire series, Michael's kind of giving you these really very kind of like these glimpses into his life. It's not only his like basketball life, but his personal life as well. And it just ends on like a quote that was like, it ends on a quote and like him talking about, it's him talking about like what was meant to him, and like how Phil Jackson brought all the players into like the, because for like, I don't like, just like recap for everybody, but like this was the last year the original core of the team would be together, because Jerry Krause, the manager of the Bulls, broke up the entire team because of like his ego, and he felt that he deserved the credit for all the championships. So he told Phil Jackson, the coach, he wouldn't be back. He said Michael Jordan didn't want players in to the locker room, and he told them to write on a piece of paper, what the team means to you, and then we'll throw it into the fire. And I don't know, and it kind of ended with that, like Michael Jordan talking about it. And I don't know, just the way it was kind of like, it was kind of done. I don't know, it just didn't feel appropriate, because I feel like it should have ended with Michael Jordan, like just something about Michael Jordan, not just about the team. Because at the end of the day, this is a series about, like, I know that Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr is all really important to the team, but it's about Michael Jordan. It's about him as a person. And like, I feel like it's kind of a cop-out, because I would have liked something more personal. I don't know if you feel the same way, Adam, but it just felt weird. It felt like him saying to the director and the creative team behind the documentary, I don't really feel comfortable with ending it on something personal or something that actually be very, very substantial that we don't know. I don't know.
I can kind of see that. I will say, most of the weeks that the episodes aired, I did watch Scott Van Pelt's show After the Fact, which airs for an hour after the show. And it was always, especially with the virus and everything, they didn't have a lot to talk about. So it was always kind of a recap of the show, of the 2 episodes. He talked to guys like Michael Wilbon and Charles Barkley, players and everything. And then like last night on Sunday, he talked to the director of the series, Jason Hare, and Hare said it was always going to end with that, the notes in the fire story. Yeah,
but like, was it with consultation with Michael Jordan, or was it just his like idea?
That's true. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't know how much he talked to MJ like leading up to like the production of the documentary or anything, but
yeah. I will say I want them to release 10 more episodes of just footage from the cutting room floor. I just watch all that.
Yeah, that would be like, because Michael Jordan like had Final Cut on it probably. Like he probably had Final Cut on it. So I would really, really want to see like all the stuff on the cutting room floor, because there's probably some rough stuff, because I don't know, he, like we talked about it before, but he's not like a really good guy.
Yeah.
Also, there's an article, I don't know if you read it, Adam, but it was an article, I think it was Slate. They wrote an article about Michael Jordan, and I thought it was just so reductive and so like kind of superficial and so it was so disgusting, like not disgusting, but it was like so. It was just so phony. Like I didn't really like, because it was about Michael Jordan, how like, I thought we'd see something like deeper into the psyche of Michael Jordan. He's just like this dickish basketball player who has no personality outside of basketball, which is like, to a certain extent it's true, but that's kind of the point of the documentary. It's like showing that showing from like his very, very early beginnings of how this culture of like winning was instilled in him by his parents, by everyone was around him, and being like a young black man during that time. He really didn't have any other way to kind of break out of this like idea of what he was supposed to be other than basketball. That was really what he could do. And through that, everything else that he could have done was kind of stripped away from him. And like, I don't know, I just thought the article was like really, really short-sighted. I didn't really like, it was just, I don't know, it just kind of painted like a picture of Michael Jordan that wasn't very like authentic, or like, because as much as an asshole as he is, I feel like there is a lot of depth to him. I think there is a lot.
Yeah, and I haven't read the article, but yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a lot that the documentary showed, that a lot of like that article seems very just single layered, and there's a lot to the documentary that his focus was basketball, but there was so much more to it than just, bossing teammates around and just focusing on winning. I mean, that was his goal, but there's more to it than just saying that.
Also, talk about the flu game too, which was like insane. Yeah. Do you guys know, Landon and Sam, do you guys know about the flu game?
The flu game?
Yeah.
The one where he played a whole game while he had the flu?
You would think so, but no. So basically, what was it, Adam? Game 6, Game 5 of like the 97 finals?
I think it was Game 6. I feel like it was
either one. The night before the game.
Game 5.
The night before the game, Michael Jordan, he was really hungry. It was like 1 a.m. He was hungry, and then he ordered a pizza from the only place open in like Salt Lake City at that night. And like when the pizza came, there were 4 guys in front of at the hotel room door with the pizza. And like his manager was like, "Wow, this is really like suspicious. We don't know why all these 4 guys are here delivering the pizza." And they're trying to look in the door to see if Michael Jordan was in there. and like they gave him pizza, and like the manager was like, Mike, I think I have a really bad feeling about this pizza, and then he ate it. He ate it all by himself, and then the next morning he had like terrible food poisoning.
Yeah.
Awful food poisoning.
Jesus.
Yeah, like,
God.
and there's a lot of like conspiracies as to like what happened, like with the pizza. They didn't really talk about like the conspiracy where they just like said he had food poisoning, but there's a lot of conspiracies about it. And like he could barely like walk. He was like really, really sick the entire day. He had to sleep the entire day. And like and you would expect, but he played the entire game, and like he hit like one of the game winning, he like one of the most important shots of the game. I think it was the game winner. And like that's kind of like a testament to how kind of like he's like anybody else in that game, in that situation, they would kind of just like say, okay, whatever, I'll just sit out or I won't play in the game. But like he not only did he play, he dropped like I think like 40 points, 38.
Yeah,
points.
I was about to say it was somewhere around 40.
It was like insane. Like it was superhuman because like you could see he was like so sweaty. Like when he started the game, he was so sweaty. And they said he was like even for like a black guy, he was like so pale. And like
Yeah.
And it was like that's like I don't know, because that's what one of those things was like. I don't know how this guy's wired differently or like what he has in him, but he's just different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's crazy.
Last Dance, 2 thumbs
Still
up.
on Netflix?
no, not yet. I think it will be.
Yeah.
It will be soon though.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Also, I didn't watch as much this week, but I watched. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the television program, but I watched Riverdale.
Oh my god.
Claps.
How is it? It's good? Okay, is it good or is it fun?
It's neither.
So it's not worth watching. It's not even like a trash fire.
It's worth watching, but like I would like watch it because if you watch it by yourself, it's like gonna be terrible,
Like agonizing.
But like I would watch it with other people, like a group of people, like maybe like drink a little something, drink a little beer or something, a little tequila, little Mai Tais, I don't know, mojitos, pina coladas, whatever you want to drink.
Classics.
Exactly. But yeah, Riverdale, not very good. Landon's hat is disappearing.
Landon's hat, heard about
Why do you
it.
think I wear this hat?
He looks like you're wearing a fez, Landon.
Oh, dude, it's a bucket hat.
Bucket hat.
Dude, what's the guy's name in the show?
Riverdale?
Bucket boy?
Oh, Jughead? Jughead?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, Jughead, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
You got it. You got it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
But yeah, other than Riverdale, I watched, actually I watched them like last night and this morning, or this afternoon. I watched both the new Spider-Man movies.
Oh, Homecoming and Far From Home?
Yeah. They're good.
They're fine.
Huh?
They're fine. Well, Homecoming's fine. I haven't seen Far From Home, but
Far From
I think
Home.
Far From Home's better, but that's just me.
Homecoming? Okay. Homecoming is like the most boring Marvel movie, but it gets away with it because it's Spider-Man and it has the best twist in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I had a conversation with my girlfriend about it. We watched it together, and like the villains in both the movies are like the heroes. When you really think about it, they're like both right, and you should be cheering for them the entire time. Especially with Vulture, because he's just trying to like vibe. He's just trying to do his own thing, and like Spidey's a fucking cop in this movie. Like he's a police officer. Like he doesn't really like. He's literally just trying to provide for his family. Just like black people trying to do shit in America, and like Spider-Man like has to just ruin everything. Like. And that's what like the biggest part of why I hate like these movies are so annoying because like Spider-Man's a different character than any other people in the MCU and everyone else in the MCU. He like everyone else either like this like kind of adult or like this rich person who like learned something in other films, but like Spidey's like a poor teenager from like Queens. And in these films, he could at the end of each film he could have learned that like maybe I shouldn't trust like Tony Stark or like maybe I should learn that this isn't a perfect person. He's like a billionaire asshole who I had really not that much in common with. But like at the end of each film, he's like, oh yeah, no, like I did something right by kind of like taking down this person who had very just cause and trying to provide for himself or trying to get back at somebody who like Tony Stark who wronged them or doesn't understand me. But like Peter Parker, like he doesn't learn anything about it because even though like he has more in common with the villains in both films, than like with Tony Stark or anybody else or Happy or anybody. And like that's part of the reason why, because I feel like if Disney had, because like Disney can't have an anti-capitalist message in their films. They can't have like, oh, the billionaires actually in the wrong, because it's really billionaires making these movies, and it's so annoying. If somebody else would have made these films, like I feel like you would have had like I don't know, like a more mixed or gray area in the film. But I don't know.
Yeah. My problem with both of the movies is, you kind of like touched on it, is Peter never really like learns anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't grow as a character. He doesn't do anything. I think Tom Holland's such a boring Peter Parker.
I think he's the best one, though.
Huh?
Okay, not the best Peter Parker, but I think he's the best overall Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire.
I don't know. He's quirky, I guess.
Andrew
Is he really that nerdy?
Andrew Garfield's the worst. We can all agree on that.
It's actually,
Okay, I would
actually Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson?
He played in Spider-Verse, Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
He's okay, yeah. Or Chris Evans when he played the alternate universe Spider-Man. When he like the other universe Spider-Man. He was pretty good.
When was that?
What?
Not Chris Evans.
Chris Pine. Sorry, it's Chris Pine.
Chris Pine, yeah.
Was that the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was the
original.
Miles is
the one that died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you saying, Landon? Sorry.
I just think Tom Holland's like, why are we supposed to believe he's such a nerdy dude? He's not nerdy. He's not nerdy. He's hot.
That's how I feel about Andrew Garfield. I'm supposed to be Andrew Garfield's like a dork. No.
Also, like he's so like
that's nailed the dorkiness is Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
That's the only person that's nailed the dorkiness is Tobey Maguire, because Tobey Maguire is just such a fucking dork.
Why argue? Spider-Man 3 is hilarious. It's not as bad as everyone says it is. All right.
Spider-Man 3 is a good
dancing
movie.
around are great.
Yeah.
That's what Peter Parker would do if he went evil. He'd be a dork.
Yes.
He'd be stupid.
Spider-Man 3 is better than Far From Home and Homecoming. I stand by it.
They're at least interesting.
I love Spider-Man 3. I remember thinking the Green Goblin was super cool when I was like 8.
But no, like both of the villains in both Spider-Man films, or both the new ones, are really, really interesting.
No, absolutely. Jake Gyllenhaal's great. It's been a while since I saw Homecoming, but Michael Keaton, if I remember right, is really good too.
He's the best villain in the MCU. But like, there's so like Jake Gyllenhaal is hilarious. Like, I don't know if you guys understand. Like, fire all the drones. No, he's like, it's so.
Yeah. No, Jake Gyllenhaal is great. Like, the villains are great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That doesn't mean it's a good movie to me personally.
But then that's like the problem, right? Is that you have one half, right? You have your villain that's great. It's well developed. It's interesting that people want to know more about. And then you have your main character. You have Spider-Man. And it's like, what do you do to make him interesting? Oh,
I'll be right back.
He really likes his sugar daddy. And you're like, okay, what else has he got? He's in high school. And you're like, yeah, I know. He's been in high school for fucking 20 years. Give me something else. That's why.
Ned is more interesting than
that Spider-Man story recently. Like,
say again?
I was gonna say Spider-Man PS.
Parker.
I'm sorry.
Ned, Ned, his friend, is more interesting than Peter.
Yes.
But they drop Ned so hard in Far From Home.
Yeah.
He's barely integral to that movie.
Huh?
Ned barely does anything in Far From Home.
He doesn't really do anything.
Plot with his girlfriend that it's just dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Far From Home I hate Far From Home.
You hate it?
I think it's funny. I think it's genuinely funny at parts, but I just do not like it. I do not like it. I do not like Tom Holland. Jake Gyllenhaal was great, but everything else about that movie is just so dumb. I hate the whole like forced Iron Man. Oh, I'm going to be the next Iron Man. I'm going to be the next Iron Man. Like, fuck off. No. The whole thing with Spider-Man, he's an interesting character because he is just a kid. He's a kid with a suit and powers. And, like, that's another problem with Homecoming. When you give him all of these, like, gadgets, he's no longer interesting. He's like, he's like a full-on, like, superhero. There's no growth. In Homecoming, like, I guess he overcomes in Homecoming because he has his original suit, but it's still just like, I don't know. It's just so dumb to me. Like, they could do stuff with the Spider-Man movies.
And you know what's crazy? Like, Spider-Verse had like 2 different characters. We could argue 3 if you want to bring Spider-Gwen into this. 3 characters that have way more development than Tom Holland has had in 2 movies.
Yeah.
Like, again, I just argue Spider-Verse has some of the most efficient storytelling and character development I've ever seen in a film.
Okay.
Like, it's a film that, like, so quickly tells you exactly who these characters are and then so quickly develops them and everything pays off. You know, like it's a miracle of a film.
Also, like both of like the live action, like new live action Spider-Mans, like they have like the same plot. Like, like for beat, it's like, oh, Spider-Man, like, especially towards the end of the film, like, but Spider-Man, like, gets his ass kicked, and he's like, come on, Spider-Man, come on, and, like, he's like, come on, Spider-Man, like, he's under, like, the bricks, and this one, he gets hit by a train.
Yeah.
Come on, Spider-Man, come on. He sees, like, half of it is, like, his mask, and half of it is Tom Holland.
Yeah. Like, I honestly think the scene Far From Home where, like, not Magneto. What's his name? Vulture? Mysterio. Yeah, Mysterio. And like Far From Home, when Mysterio is doing all of that magic stuff, like near the end, where he's making him like hallucinate. I think that's beautiful. I think that whole sequence is beautiful. But like I said, it would have been more beautiful if there was actual like meaning behind it, and it actually made him grow as a character. But it doesn't.
It's like, no, because like during the scene, he's like, oh. If you were better, maybe Tony would have been alive. Like, what do you even mean? Like, what's that? You know it's not true, Peter. Like, he took the gauntlets off of Thanos' hand. Like, what do you mean? That makes no sense.
There literally was nothing you could do.
What sequence are we talking about?
What
sequence
Far From Home with Mysterio when he makes like Peter hallucinate all that stuff.
Okay.
Like, it would have been interesting if he grew as a character during that, or like he was able to like actually learn something. It was like, oh no, Tony, skeleton Tony in Iron Man suit. Oh no, Tony. Like, okay. I hate. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting heated. I hate how people are like, oh, the new Spider-Mans are so cool because they don't like shove the whole Uncle Ben thing in your face. But guess what? They do, because Tony Stark is just Uncle Ben. That's all he is. That's all he is. It's so annoying.
He probably had sex with Aunt May, too.
Yeah, he probably did. And then the whole Aunt May thing is so dumb as well.
It was kind of funny in the first movie, and then like I haven't seen Far From Home, but it sounds like they just go too far with it.
I mean, they don't like fuck on screen or anything, but like it's like they just like flirt and stuff. Like, also the ending is good too. I like the ending. How do you guys feel about the ending?
Of Far From Home?
Yeah.
Haven't seen it, so I can't tell you.
J. Jonah Jameson.
J. Jonah Jameson, yeah.
Oh, who didn't they bring back J.K. Simmons, right?
Yeah. What are you saying, Landon?
I don't know. Like, I guess it's cool that they brought back, but it's just so fan servicey. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, yeah, but it works. Like, it works. Like,
it does work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh man,
I'm fine with it.
Say what the fuck. He should have said fuck on screen. He could have said
That's
fuck,
true.
but they didn't.
That's true. They have their one fuck.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They're not like, all right, we're gonna have them say fuck. They pussied out on it.
Disney's like, we can't have butts and we can't have fuck.
Yeah, so he just says what the, and then it cuts. And it's like, okay.
Wow, so funny.
It's dumb.
They did in the first one too. It ended with that one with Aunt May, like, what the? And then
it's the same movie.
Same movie.
Oh my god.
It is.
I don't know. They're still fun. They're fun movies, though. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd much rather watch the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Right.
Bro, that's fair.
To have like a fun time, I have more fun with those movies than I do like the new Spider-Man.
So we can all agree that Andrew Garfield is the worst, right?
No.
I think Andrew Garfield's better than Toby. Or not Toby.
Well, we'll
Maguire.
agree to disagree. We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, but like, okay, how do we feel about Sam Raimi taking over from Scott Derrickson for Doctor Strange 2?
I love it.
Yeah.
Love
Now,
to see it.
here's the problem though. It's like, okay, so Scott Derrickson is making Doctor Strange 2, and he's like, yo, it's a horror movie, like straight up horror movie. Then Kevin Feige's like, it's horror adjacent. It's got horror elements. Then he leaves, right? So then it's like, all right, Sam Raimi's coming in, another horror alum. He's fucking wacky. Let's go for it. But I don't think he's going to be given as much freedom as we want him to have, right? Like if Scott Derrickson didn't feel like he had the creative freedom to make what he wanted for Doctor Strange 2, and he got away with a decent amount of stuff in Doctor Strange 1. I believe Doctor Strange 1 is extremely underrated within the Marvel canon. It's not on the same level as an Iron Man 3, but people really are sleeping on Doctor Strange. I think it's a great movie. A lot of that comes from the creativity of the visuals and the way it tackles its story and its action scenes. And I think if you let Scott Derrickson, an experienced horror director, make a horror Marvel movie, that could be a real kick for the franchise. That could be a real like spark. And I want Sam Raimi to do that, but I don't think Disney's going to give him that amount of control, right?
I hope they let him. I really hope so.
Like we're not going to get Evil Dead in the MCU. I'd love it. I would love Benedict Cumberbatch in a fucking cape slipping around in blood, like he's in a Three Stooges sketch. Like I want that more than anything. But I think it's gonna be more like, ooh, jump scare. Like I think it's gonna be something dumb. I don't know.
With Sam Raimi taking on this Doctor Strange movie, which is called Multiverse of Madness, do you think there will be a kind of like, not an Easter egg, but
you gonna get old Ash?
Egg to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Ooh,
I hope so. I think
that would be nice.
Like a very small one, but I think there will be something.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, just put Bruce Campbell in there for 2 seconds.
I want a live action Spider-Verse movie with all of the Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like you can even bring in the Spider-Verse characters.
Yes.
Like, bring in Shameik Moore if you wanted to, as like.
But they're in the costume in live action.
Yeah, it would be so cool. It would be.
Or go fucking Roger Rabbit. He's still animated.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be crazy. It's never gonna happen because
who directs it?
But
who directs it?
Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Oh God. Okay, wait. I might say his name wrong. Panos Cosmatos, the guy who made
Cosmatos. Yeah.
That'd be insane. That'd be ridiculous.
Like it's just like you just see like Tobey Maguire snorting cocaine or something, just like
me and David, my friend David, we've been like floating around this idea of Yorgos Lanthimos. I know this is so like stupid to like bring actual good directors and make them work under this huge monopoly that is Marvel and Disney. But like, can you imagine a Yorgos Lanthimos Squirrel Girl movie?
Ooh.
Can you imagine that?
Ooh.
That'd be amazing.
It would be so good. I just think
haven't they been trying to cast that character for like 5 years?
Joss Whedon was supposed
Squirrel
to be
Girl,
right?
Yeah, I keep hearing about it on like Twitter.
It was the AT&T girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they brought her back for Corona commercials.
Yeah, the AT&T girl. She's supposed to be Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, but that was supposed to be for the Cloak and Dagger TV show or something.
Okay.
It wasn't going to be like a movie.
No, never mind.
What's wrong?
No, nothing.
Say it, Adam. Say it.
I wasn't going to say it because you guys would just all roll your eyes, but I do
Don't
remember.
say it, Kendrick. Don't
Yes.
say it, Kendrick.
Yeah.
What do you know about Squirrel Girl, Adam?
Nothing, actually. I just heard that.
All you know.
I remember hearing that it was the AT&T girl and Anna Kendrick are both like going to play it or something, but apparently it's for the closing act.
Adam, you show me one article. Show me one article where it says Anna Kendrick and talks to play Squirrel Girl. I'll give you $100. No, that's not true. I'm not.
I remember hearing that somewhere. I swear to God.
I heard it in my dreams. Okay.
Oh
my God. Well, okay. So, Brandon, do you have any other films that you've watched or anything else you want to bring to light?
Nothing really, honestly. Nothing much. So, yeah.
Well,
Sam, you go ahead.
Well, since Landon's left, I was gonna let him go, but I guess I'll talk. Whatever.
Sorry, she wanted to play. She wasn't in talks for it.
Oh, so this is like Donald Glover and wanting to play Spider-Man. Which, okay,
so, yeah.
Donald Glover as Spider-Man, I don't know if it would work as well now, but like back when Amazing Spider-Man was being cast, hell yeah.
Yeah, side note, like, sorry, Sam, I just want to say this real quick. I've been rewatching Community over the past couple of weeks. I never realized how many cameos from that cast are in the Marvel movies. Like, I knew a couple of them, but there's 6 or 7 at this point.
Are we talking about Community?
Yeah, I never realized the Russo brothers were so much involved. It didn't hit me until I started seeing all the movies they were involved in with Marvel.
Fuck the Russo brothers.
To a certain extent.
Isn't one of them gay?
Are they?
Isn't he in Endgame?
The Russo brothers?
One of them has a cameo in Endgame, yeah.
No, because like
Russo brothers are partners?
Okay, so off topic. Did you guys see the tweet conversation where who was it? It was Elon Musk. He was like, "Hey, get red pilled or some bullshit."
Oh, yeah.
Trump was like, "Yeah, dude, hell yeah." And then fucking Lily Wachowski is like, "Fuck you both." I was like, "Yes, yes."
He roasted the fuck out of him.
Dude, okay. That's just like my favorite thing. And then people were trying to be like, man, it's like people were like, oh, it's so great. Like the makers of The Matrix are like finally calling them out. And then like some idiots in the comments are like, I want proof that Lily has any involvement with The Matrix. And it's like, you want proof? All right, watch the movie and wait till the end. Like it's them. It's the Wachowski sisters. Like the movie is literally. I still argue this. I still think the Matrix is that could be read as a trans narrative, and a narrative of realizing your how you truly feel and coming out as that.
Yeah.
Anyway, great dunk by Lily Wachowski. I'm excited for Matrix 4. That's all I got to say about that.
Are they directing it?
I don't know if the other Wachowski sisters involved, but I think Lily's directing and writing.
Okay.
I don't think the other Wachowski sisters there, which sucks, but I mean, who knows?
Speed Racer?
Slaps.
Still need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since it came out. I just remember being
Kinda
traumatized
great.
because they say shit in it twice.
They do.
Okay, so I guess I'll go to my movies. So I didn't watch too many. I watched Ghost World, Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson. It's one I really want to rewatch because I think I spent the first like 30, 40 minutes really hating the main characters. And like, I had a feeling the movie would like redeem them or at least like get me to understand them better. And it did. But I'm afraid that first 40 minutes really warped how I felt about the movie as a whole. Where I spent the first 40 minutes really disliking these very dislikable people who are such, stereotypes of 90s cynicism, where they're just mean to everybody and they're just like very nasty and just are out there to make fun of people when they themselves are kind of broken people, which is the point of the film. That's like literally what it's all about. And does a great job of getting there and explaining that. It's very funny. I don't know. I really appreciate what it does. I appreciate how it ends. I appreciate how it comes to its conclusion and what it does. And again, why I want to rewatch it. I think watching it a second time, I'll appreciate it more and now that I know where the movie's going, I can see how it portrays these characters and what it does to sort of humanize them throughout the film.
Also, what movie was this again?
Ghost World.
Okay.
Steve Buscemi's great in it. Thora Birch is great. I'm not sure if Scarlett Johansson's that good. I know her character is supposed to be kind of detached, but also she's like maybe a little bit too detached. But yeah,
Like a branch on a tree.
you got it exactly. Um, but Ghost World, really good. I want to rewatch it at some point. There was a point in Ghost World where I stopped watching it because I got really grossed out because David Cross tries to hit on them. And I was like, oh, wow, I am uncomfortable. I'm going to stop watching this. And so I decided to watch something else on the Criterion channel. And they had this collection of short films made by the Quaid brothers. Do you want to know who these are, who these people are?
Dennis Quaid?
No,
Sounds
Quay,
familiar.
like Quay.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe something. No, hang on.
So Quay brothers, from what I understand, made a bunch of stop motion animated shorts in like the 80s and 90s. And they're all super weird and like melancholic and rustic. I don't know how to really describe it.
Yeah, yeah. Christopher Nolan did a documentary on them. That's where I've heard of them.
Oh, well, there you go. I should probably watch that.
8 minutes long, but it's still a
I'm
documentary.
gonna watch it. But I watched their film their short film that's said to be the most well known of theirs, called Street of Crocodiles, which I'm not sure if there is necessarily a plot or a point beyond showing really creepy imagery and just like visually conveying themes of like how technology and like the Industrial Revolution is like eroding society. But it's a macrame, I guess. I might be saying that word wrong, but like it's just very like gorgeous in its horror, in its portrayal of things. It's very creepy, but it has a lot of great imagery, a really great score. There's no dialogue, and it's just kind of like I feel like it's something that like a club would have on in the background for like a Halloween party, you know, like a club would have on like a silent film in the background just for like a visual, for an aesthetic. It would be that, but this is actually has a lot of artistry behind it because it is stop motion animated. Very fascinating, very good. But after that, I decided to return to Ghost World and finish it. So I don't know how that relates to it, but here we are. Then the next day, I watched Close Up, the I always say his name wrong. The film by Abbas Kiarostami. I know I say
Yeah, I watched it last semester for my film class.
The documentary.
exactly. Yeah. Sorry.
Documentary.
Yeah.
Documentary.
And I'd seen it before. It's a Criterion that I own when I was watching it for my review series. And I found a whole new appreciation for it this time around because I got more into the medium in the sense of like, you know, making a film. Like it's literally the ultimate example of a movie inspired by real events where you literally get the people involved in the real event to make a movie about it. And you have some real footage, but the real footage is very clearly like, you know, it's not just them filming life, it's them clearly directing life, right? Where like he's literally asking the person questions to answer.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's very fascinating. And one thing that I appreciate about it, and this is just like a general argument I have, is that it's barely an hour and a half, you know, it's just over an hour and a half. And I think that helps with the experimental nature of it, which allows you to rewatch it multiple times, to think about it, to not have to like, you know, it holds your attention for the whole time and then it's out, you know? And I always believe that experimental films, especially ones that mess with the medium and mess with filmmaking and how things traditionally work, should be relatively short and should be easy to rewatch and digest and fully look over. I don't know. I just think that's one of the film's strengths is that it is so experimental and different and unique. And it's easy to go back to multiple times and really discuss and explore. And being
oh, sorry.
No,
No,
go ahead.
continue. I kind of like looking at the movie as a documentary because I think the filmmaker's intention, honestly, is to make a documentary that not only documents the past actions that do occur before the film,
Mm-hmm.
but also to kind of document this kind of facade people put on when they are in the limelight, and he is documenting the kind of falsehood of people when they are put in situations like a documentary format. where they kind of play it up for the camera. They kind of, it's like it's a documentary about dissecting documentaries, I feel like, personally. Like, I think the whole intention of it being named Close Up is to offer this kind of idea that these people are getting their quote unquote close up and they're going to make themselves look as good as possible. But in doing so, they kind of make a clown of themselves.
No, totally. I think you're definitely right about that. And I think one of the most fascinating aspects about this film is with the Criterion release, it comes with this great interview with the director where they just like literally sit with him and talk about the legacy of the film. And one of the points he brought up that really stuck with me is he's like, you know, we were filming the opening scene where the journalist goes with the cops to arrest the guy. And then we don't see them. We don't see what happens inside the house. We stick with the taxi driver. And there's this moment where he grabs these like flowers out of like a pile of trash. And then he kicks a can and the can like rolls down the street and they just focus on it. And people have like really analyzed that and have really like, you know, tried to figure out what that means and why it's in the film and what's important about it. And the director is just kind of like, we just saw a can and we thought it was cool. And so we kicked it around and we just put it in the movie. Like, why not? Fuck it. And then he's like, and then people come up to me and find all these meanings. And I'm like, I didn't really think of that, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. And he has this whole idea that like, you know, half of the film comes from the filmmakers, the other half comes from the audience. And I think that's also kind of what the documentary is tapping into, where it is this close-up of people and it is them showing themselves, but then it's up to the audience to put it all together, right? It's up to the audience to get what they want out of it. It's like Landon, you're getting this deconstruction of documentaries and what they mean and like how people play up for the camera, even though the film is supposed to be like realistic and the truth, right? And then for me, I think you're completely right. I think that's definitely there. But I also think that there is an aspect of it that's a lot about the power of film, which kind of ties into your point, actually, which is like the magic of cinema, where, you know, this guy has felt underrepresented in his entire life as someone in the lower class, not even middle class, like low class, right? And then he sees one movie that he feels accurately represents him and he's obsessed with it. And all he wants is to not only, you know, experience art and like, you know, tell people how great art is, but he wants to experience what it's like to be a director. And for him, being a director is having control. Is having control of not only the narrative of a film, but the narrative of their life, where like he talks a lot about like having control of the family and like control of his life. And then whenever he's away from the family, he loses that, you know, his performance is over. He doesn't have that. And it's like, that's kind of what film does. It gets you to feel empathy and to like understand where people are coming from and be with them for a little bit, you know. But like, you know, there's so many different ways to read the film, and that's kind of the genius of it, is there's so many different interpretations for it.
Yeah.
But highly recommend that movie. That's a great movie. Very different note. I watched True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I hadn't seen in a few years. Jamie Lee Curtis is hot in it. We're not gonna lie about that. She's great. Sorry?
I call Landon a simp.
Huh?
Hey man, if that's what it takes to be a simp for Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm a simp. All right.
You see the tweet she had this weekend
about
someone said that she only agreed to do Halloween because of like the Me Too message in it. Like, and so she was because she was broke, and she quote tweeted it. She was like, "I did activity."
Wait, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, Brandon, literally you broke right as you were like you for me, you like the connection broke right as you were about to say what the tweet was.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Basically, they're doing like a Halloween like AMA or whatever on Reddit or something,
right?
And like someone tweeted that like she only did the film because she was broke and because it had like a Me Too message in it, and like she quotes for it. She was like, "I did Activia commercials for 7 years. I'm not broke."
That True Lies does come on TV later this week. I've been meaning to watch it for years now. So
True Lies is really fun. It's definitely a movie made in the 90s, specifically with how people from the Middle East are treated and portrayed, where they are definitely like cartoonish, almost like Russians in the 80s type of villains, right? But I think it's a movie that's way more self-aware of how goofy and kind of stupid it is. Because, like, a lot of the humor comes from Arnold Schwarzenegger just, like being the impossible hero that he was in the 80s, but being put in, like, a spy romantic comedy, you know? And that's where a lot of the jokes come from, like sort of the impossibility of him as a person, and the impossibility that he could hide this side of him from his wife for 15 years. You know, it's clearly a fantasy, but the performances are so good. James Cameron is such a great director that it really sells it. And just some of the action scenes are just so well done. There's the great scene where they're going along the bridge, and it's just this long bridge over an ocean. They have to like keep, these cars are wrecking all the time, and they have to like try to get out of the limo before it falls into the bridge. It's great. It's a really fun movie. It's really well done. I don't know if it's James Cameron's best, but it's kind of like his most conventional film, and it's still better than most blockbusters, like it's still really well done. Still very fun. And then yesterday I watched Enemy, bringing back Jake Gyllenhaal. So I'd never seen Enemy before. I'd always heard of it. And I knew it involved spiders. That's all I knew about it. Spiders were a big part of it. Has anybody else seen Enemy before I go too deep?
I've been meaning to. I know the spider part.
Okay, so
I haven't seen it yet.
So I won't go too deep. This also kind of lines up with what I was talking about with Close Up. It's a very so it's a Denis Villeneuve film that actually came out the same year as Prisoners. He did both in the same year, which is like insane. And it's about Jake Gyllenhaal is like this history teacher, and he's living his life, and he finds out that he has a double. He has someone that looks exactly like him, like to the T, and he's just some other guy who's trying to be an actor. And the film kind of follows what happens when he tries looking for this guy. And for the first hour 20, I guess, hour and 10 minutes, it is a really engaging, really tense, and really creepy thriller about like investigating this, trying to find this guy, and like, just like the fear of like, what do you do if you find out there's someone that looks exactly like you, sounds just like you, like is you, that has a totally different life separate from your own. And then the last like 20 minutes, it's an hour and a half, like almost on the dot, hour and a half movie. The last 20 minutes, it goes way into like metaphor and really into just like art housey, I guess. I don't want to go like too deep, but like, it's going like way more into that. And then it has an ending that I think completely changes the way you look at the movie, where it ends in a way that basically tells you most likely have been paying attention to the wrong part of the movie. Like it literally is like a shot. Like it's just a single shot of something, and it's the movie going, you fucked up. Like you thought the movie was about this. It's about this. It's been about this the entire time, and you just didn't really notice it. And it makes you rethink the entire film. And it's really helpful that the movie's an hour and a half, because you can instantly go back and watch it, not waste a lot of time, and like with that knowledge, go, oh fuck, this is actually a big part of the movie. And while I did not watch it a second time, I did watch a lot of analysis videos on YouTube afterwards to try and get a better idea of like what it's saying and what people think it's saying. And it was just a lot of people basically confirming different threads and ideas I had, and just developing them further. But it's a really fascinating movie. Jake Gyllenhaal's great, of course he is, but like he's really good in it. There's really, I don't know, it's just like a really engaging thriller that has a lot more going on than you would expect. And even if you don't want to like fully like investigate, you don't want to like go in deep about what it's about, you're still getting like an hour of a really great thriller that you
I will say
the ending.
I haven't seen it, but I do know how it ends just because I remember I was going to watch it. I am severely scared of spiders, and I knew that was the main thing. So I was like, "Where are the spiders in the movie?" And there was like a video, there was like a timestamp, and like there's one right at the end, and I know that part for sure. But I assume it'll make more sense when I actually watch the entire thing, or maybe not.
It makes sense when you're thinking about it. Like if you're really deep in thought, but if you're just like watching the movie as like most people would watch it, it really comes out of fucking nowhere. It really is just like, oh shit, a spider, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just like, oh, and then credits. You're like, oh, like because that's the thing. It just like the way it ends, it goes, this is the movie, figure it out, and you're like, oh, okay, Tony, whatever you say, dude, I got it. Really enjoyed it. Really great movie. And the last thing I'll talk about, it's not a movie, but it's a story-based thing. And I may have talked about this with you guys on Saturday, or on Friday, I forget. But I beat the game Virtue's Last Reward, which is a very story text heavy based game. So for those that do not know, Virtue's Last Reward is the sequel to a game called 999, 9 doors, 9 people, 9 hours, something like that. And the first game was like your character and 8 other people are trapped on a boat that's sinking, and you've been kidnapped. And it's kind of like a Saw setup where it's like, hey, escape, find out how to get out of here. And if you break one of my rules, the like watch on your wrist is going to explode. And you're like, oh, okay, let's figure out how to get out of here. And so the game.
What are we? Some sort of Suicide Squad?
Basically, it's just Suicide Squad. Let's be honest. But the gameplay is like visual novel, like story moments of just talking to characters, getting to know them. And then the gameplay is like escape room puzzles, and they can be very obtuse and weird and like a lot of math. I wasn't expecting that. There's a lot of math. And in the beginning, it's just kind of like, it's a bunch of people trapped in a boat and they have 9 hours to get out. What's going to happen? And then by the end, it's like time travel, alternate dimensions, and like it just goes off the rails. And you're like, oh, I mean, I've been in the game for 10 hours. Like I'm on the ride, but like, whoa. And then it ends with a cliffhanger. So I was like, a few months, I played 999 back in September. Now I'm playing Virtue's Last Reward, or I beat it. And the way the game starts is similar but very different. Now it has a very obvious sci-fi bend to it, where you're stuck in like a warehouse. It seems very scientific. And once again, it's your character and 8 other people trapped in an environment, and you have this character that's like, hey, you're trapped here. You're gonna play a game. You gotta escape, and if you break one of my rules, we're gonna inject you with like a poison, and you'll die. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And again, it's visual novel and escape room puzzles. But what blows my mind about these games, especially Virtue's Last Reward, is how dedicated they are to their premise and to their gameplay. Well, okay, how dedicated they are to the gameplay and how dedicated they are to like making sure you're surprised by like the games go in, like the stories go in such wild directions. No matter what you think is going on, that's not what's happening. Because there is literally
it's kind of like Enemy.
Yeah. Okay, it'd be like Enemy, but if Enemy was intentionally trying to keep you from those, Enemy is telling you what's happening. You're just not paying attention to that, right? Virtue's Last Reward is doing everything in its power to make sure you don't figure out this thing until it tells you, right? Like the big twist of the game, there was literally no way you could see it coming. And then you find out what these twists are, and you go, that's stupid. And the game is like, yeah, but let me tell you how it makes sense. And then it tries to explain it. Like, I put 30 hours into the game in order to beat it, like about 30 hours to beat it. 5 of those hours is just watching the ending cutscenes as it tries to explain how everything makes sense. Like it literally is just the game. Like the game, like they just sit you down. They go, "There's no more puzzles. There's no more game. We're just gonna tell you how this makes sense." And you get
It's
to
like
it.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, no, like it's kind of like that, but like if the cutscenes were part of the gameplay, like I don't know, like it just literally is like, okay, hold on, like we've given you a lot, I know, stick with me here, okay, like we're gonna explain it, and it just like, it like part of the gameplay that I like that's really interesting is is but part of the gameplay that I really like is the way it incorporates like story transitions or like story changing, where like you go through one timeline of the story, right, where you make certain choices and you do whatever, and then the story will end either with a game over or with like an ending, which is not really an ending. And then the whole point of the game is to get all of the endings so that you can use information from different storylines to help you in other storylines. So like in one like storyline, it could be a character saying, "Oh, I have the code to unlock this door," and then you get to the end of that storyline and you never had to use that code. But then you go through a different storyline and you get to the door, and everyone else is like, "How do we unlock the door?" And your character is like, "Oh, I have the code. We'll unlock the door." And you're like, "Oh, that's a cool gameplay thing." And then the entire game is about how you can do that and why that matters. And like explaining how you're able to do that. It's crazy. And the way it ends makes me want to play the last game in the trilogy, which is Zero Time Escape, I want to say it's called. Or Zero Time Dilemma. There you go. Which, with how this game ends, I think I know somewhat where the third game is going, but I also know that means I have no idea where this game is going. Because no matter what I think is happening, that's not what's happening. Or I'm like half right and there's like 10 other details I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the fun of these games. It's just like how crazy the plot gets and just being engaged with that. And like another fun part about it, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off the rails, but like to round it out, these games really remind me of the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where the whole point, I'm assuming you guys haven't seen it, right?
No.
So the whole point of JoJo is it's the author, like the guy who made the manga. It's literally, he literally invented a world that is entirely dependent on whatever Wikipedia article he most recently read. Like it's literally like if it's literally someone going down a rabbit hole of information about weird things and then going, okay, that's going to inform the next chapter of this story. Like, and just like half of watching JoJo is like being surprised at how ridiculous everything gets. And then the characters spending a large portion of time explain to you why it makes sense and how it works. So they can further surprise you when they break that and then explain how that works. Right? Like it's just the joy of like learning new things and then constantly being surprised because you can never tell where it's going, you know? Like it's a story where people were like vampires. It's a story involving vampires and kung fu air magic and like persona doubles that all have unique powers that can range from like, I can put a zipper on you and form a black hole, or I can form a shark in any body of water that exists. Like if there's a puddle, I can form a shark in that, you know? Or I have 6 bullets that all have their own personality and I can direct them where to go. Like it's literally just random shit. Like it's just insane. And that's what these games are like. These games are just like there's literally points in the game where like a character will look at you and go, "Do you know about Schrodinger's cat?" And your character's like, "Oh," and they go, "Okay." So they like spend like 10 minutes being like, "Here's Schrodinger's cat. here's 10 examples to make sure you understand
You
it.
just copy and paste like a Wikipedia article.
No, literally, it's literally just like, all right, let's go down the Wikipedia article of like Schrodinger's cat, and like let's go down the Wikipedia article of the Titanic, and like all this random shit. But it's great. Like you just get super into it if you like let yourself do that, and it's a great time. It's very fun. It's really stupid, but I always have a good time playing them. So yeah, I went on a tangent. I'm sorry, but
No, it's fine. I'm interested in playing it now. I think it sounds interesting. Can you only play the original or like the first one, 999 on 3DS?
No. So they have a collection called the Nonary games, which is like what the game is always called in the series. You can get that on PC and PS4. Might be on Xbox, not 100%, but it's definitely on PC and PS4. And it's both 999 and Virtue's Last Reward for $40. It goes on sale a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the only issue is 999 was like designed for the Nintendo DS, and they try to like keep that in the regular game. It doesn't always work, but I still think they work really well overall. I think it's still really good and really well done.
Is it on the Switch?
Somehow it's not. I'm really surprised they haven't put it on Switch yet. That would be a perfect Switch. Those games would be incredible on here. But I've been playing them on PS4 and they work just as well. So
Interesting.
Highly recommend those games.
Well, I started to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ooh, because it's on Netflix, right?
But I stopped watching it because the way that Netflix formatted the show annoys the piss out of me.
Oh no.
I don't know. Like it's not in widescreen format. And I know if you buy the Blu-rays, it is in the widescreen format. It's very much like a square about this big.
It's like 4:3.
Yeah, basically that's how it feels. And all of like the details in the animation are kind of compressed.
Oh.
You don't really see like the finer details in the animation, and it really bugged me. So I was like, I'm gonna stop watching this.
That sucks.
But Avatar, great piece of storytelling. Also, the humor in the show is great. It still lands.
I think it starts off kind of bad, but it gets better.
Really?
I think
I kind of like
it. It's a little bit too like pandering to children. I feel like it's a little bit too like this is what kids like. And then like after like the first like couple of episodes, they really like get into the rhythm of the show.
I feel like they get into the rhythm when like Aang first when he first visits the air temple.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And it's like, oh shit, like these people died. Like everybody was murdered here.
That's when the show is like, hey, guess what? Like we're not fun.
Yeah, I know like 3 episodes earlier we were like riding on penguins and having a good time. But guess what? People died. The Fire Nation had a mass genocide of airbenders. And guess what? It was fucked up. And like I think it's really interesting how the show as a whole, they don't view kids as idiots. Like as a child, I was able to grasp that kind of idea. They were able to tell a kind of mature story while also keeping it kind of children friendly. And I find it so well done in the way that they did it. And also it's so impressive to me. It's so impressive the way that the creators of the show were able to do that in a fun, intriguing way. And I hope they bring Korra onto Netflix with correct formatting that doesn't bug the shit out of me. Huh?
Did you ever watch Korra?
I watched like the first couple of seasons,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
I feel like so having watched the whole series, I think Korra is way more.
I remember liking it more than Avatar.
Well, the thing with Korra is like it's way more inconsistent. I think Avatar is consistently great. Like I don't know if there is a bad episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a bad storyline or a bad character. There may be things that are like not as good as other things, but there's nothing I like actively dislike in Avatar. In Korra, the stuff that's like great is better than Avatar. like I would argue the first season of Korra is better than like a lot of things in Avatar.
Yeah.
But then season 2 is like trash. First half of season 2 is trash. And then like in the last like 4 episodes, they finally like find a reason to like make the show. Then they get better. And then season 3 is a little bit better. And then season 4 is like almost as good as season 1.
Yeah. I think Korra is so interesting in the first season.
Yes, 100%.
She's so like, I don't know,
fun.
she's so more complex than Aang. Like Aang's so cool, but he's kind of like he's kind of like childish to a point where it's annoying at some points, if you know what I mean. Which he does grow throughout the series.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think like it's interesting because I think it sounds like the reason we like Korra is the same reason a lot of people hate her, which is that she is very flawed. You know, she is very cocky. She is very she gets a lot of things wrong. You know, she is wrong about a lot of things, but that makes her lessons and her growth way more interesting and engaging to me. You know,
yeah, like Aang doesn't start taking it kind of serious until like
season 2.
Season 2,
yeah,
or in the midpoint of season 2. Where like Korra, like, well, when it starts, she doesn't have a reason to kind of take her role serious, but it's her coming to terms that she has this role that is so interesting. Like what makes her so interesting as a character, because she is this kind of hard-headed, kind of angry person.
yes,
She's so impatient. She's like a real person.
Yeah.
She's real. While Aang is just kind of like, he's so goofy. He's just a goofy guy.
Well, it's funny. Korra reminds me a lot of Toph. Like Toph is a lot of people's favorite character. You know, like Toph is a favorite character. I think Korra is like the more developed version of Toph. Like it's like Toph. If Toph was the main character of her own series, like that's what Korra would be. Did you ever see season 3 at all? Would you just see season 3?
I think I got to like the midway point of season 2. Like when I watched Korra, it was more like I watched the first season, and then I kind of would watch episodes like whenever they would like have reruns. So I like probably caught like a couple episodes here, a couple episodes there, kind of thing. And then they move it to Nickelodeon.
They moved online, and it was like super weird and like inconsistent. It was really hard to keep up with. It's really
bad. And I remember that's when like I just like kind of stopped watching it altogether.
A lot of people did that, yeah.
Like reruns and things like that. And I was like, okay, I guess there's no. But like I feel like they're going to bring it to Netflix because Netflix and Nickelodeon currently have a deal right now, correct?
I believe so. Or like they're at least on friendly terms.
Yeah, because they're trying to compete with HBO Max and Disney Plus, because HBO Max is getting all of like Cartoon Network and like all of WB stuff, while Disney Plus is just Disney shit that you can, like Dog with a Blog. You want it? Here you go. Here's Dog with a Blog. Oh
my God.
Does Disney Plus have Zeke and Luther?
Listen, fucker. Dog with a Blog. Is not terrible.
No, I'm not saying it was terrible. I'm just saying Plus has like, you want Dog with a Blog, here you go. But does Disney Plus have Zeke and Luther?
No.
It doesn't? Okay.
But you know what, do your parents have cable?
Yeah.
Okay, so it should be on if you have like Xfinity.
It's on Canopy? There's on Canopy.
Criterion Channel? Okay, let's sign a petition right now to get Zeke and Luther on the Criterion Channel.
Breathless. Exactly. 8.5. The Seventh Seal. Zeke and Luther.
Rublev.
Stalker. Rashomon.
Solaris.
Yeah. Zeke, Kate Batowski.
Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior.
Pair of Kings.
Huh? Oh yeah, Pair of Kings. Oh my God.
The last thing I'll just say that like season 3 of Korra does a really great job of developing that idea further of her responsibility as like Avatar and her role, and like how it affects her. I think season 3 gets really in depth and has a brutal ending.
Korra is also just much more violent, and
Korra gets fucked up.
Korra is not afraid to like. I don't know. I just think Korra is just such a more interesting show than Avatar.
So Avatar takes a lot of risks, but it feels safer because it does them so well, right? Korra takes big risks, especially for a children's show, and it doesn't always land, but that makes it for a much more interesting show to talk about. If you talk about Avatar, you're not going to meet someone that's like, oh man, that show sucks. Like everybody loves Avatar. Like it's a great show. Everybody admits that. Like it's great. If you talk to someone about Korra, they have a whole wave of feelings about it, right?
Yeah.
Like I think season 1 is the best season. I know someone that thinks season 2 is the best season, and I think it's trash. Like, you know, that's what that show does. It's so unique and interesting and different.
Also, the atmosphere of it and like the whole steampunk thing it has.
Yes.
It's so unique, and it's like nothing I've ever seen in like a Nickelodeon show or any kind of animated show before.
So good.
Yeah. The whole like how they expand bloodbending as well is so awesome. Because like that's one of the best episodes of Avatar is when
it's the best one. I think it's the best
one. When they meet the bloodbender and like
it's so fucking creepy.
You get that backstory about how she like learned how to bloodbend. It's so cool.
It's such a creepy episode too.
Yeah.
It still like shakes me. Like I'm still when I think about it, I still get like I have to shiver. Like it's still so creepy.
I rewatched the series a couple of years ago, and like that episode still like fucked with me. I was like,
and the score too in that episode particularly, like where there's like the creepy strings they use to kind of emphasize the it's like the ding, ding, ding. Like it's so good.
There's talking about creepy episodes in Avatar. There's that one episode with the what's the character's name? It's the one where like it changes its face.
Oh yes, the spirit.
Yeah. What?
And you can't. And you can't react. You can't like have. Emotion. Oh my god.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Avatar, like I said, it's great. Like you were saying, it's great. But Brandon. Where'd you go?
Brandon, only Lynn.
It's only Lynn now. But yeah, like I really wanna watch it. Did you watch Avatar? Have you tried to rewatch it on Netflix?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of the formatting? I kind of talked to you about it when you came over a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I hate the formatting of the show, the way that Netflix has done it.
Yeah, if it was widescreen, it'd be so much better. Like I agree with you 100% on that aspect of it.
Because it's the aspect ratio that they've like chosen, it kind of squishes all of the animation in this weird way.
It also affects the quality of the image too. Like
yeah,
it's much blurrier.
Yeah, it just really bugs me. Like I've never had something bug me as much as how they handle it. Like I literally can't watch it, and I feel bad because I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, like if you like, I don't know. Like I told you before, like it's widescreen on if you get like it on Blu-ray, it's widescreen.
Mm-hmm.
And they just they like released the complete series last year. I don't have that version of it. I have like one from like the past. But like they just released it, and it's like $28.
Okay, yeah.
The season. So like if you like, you should get it. Honestly,
I might. Yeah, because I was so excited that I was like, oh, it's coming to Netflix, and then I like started watching it the day that it came out, and I was like, this is bad. It's just like it's so noticeable during like the wide shots kind of thing, like where the animation is so kind of compressed and like blurry that you don't even see the detail on characters' faces. It looks like a kind of like a smiley face. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like two lines in a mouth. I'm like, this isn't how the show looks.
This isn't the creator's intent.
How the show looks. And it's so annoying too, because like the action and like the choreography of the animation is just so fun, and it ruins it.
Yeah.
It ruins it. But yeah. So yeah, after I watched Avatar, I watched a show that we'll probably talk about when we talk about all that jazz. So I don't really want to get into that now. But I also watched Bad Education on HBO.
Oh yeah, how's that?
I've been meaning to watch them.
It's good. Like I don't know. It's a very enjoyable movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's great, but I feel like there's something missing. I don't know what that thing is. Like it's aesthetically pleasing, but it's just it's kind of hollow.
Because I feel like compared to like Thoroughbreds, because Thoroughbreds has like this acid touch to it. And,
Wait,
like,
is it the
all
same
dialogue-
director?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And like I don't, it's like the dialogue in like in Thoroughbreds so much punchier, and there's so much weight to everything, and the characters are so interesting, and the characters in Bad Education are so interesting too. It just feels very flat. Like I agree with you, it feels very hollow and very flat.
Yeah, like I don't think it's bad. Like I don't think it's bad whatsoever. But I feel like it had so much potential, and I feel like it's not squandered because I can see that he definitely had a vision and he executed that vision. But I don't know if it came to the full fruition that it could have been, because I think the subject is really interesting. I think a lot of my problems lie with how the student journalist kind of takes a back seat like 40% of the movie when she's kind of the most important character in this whole plot. And it kind of like, I was just like, where is this going for such a long time?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it just kind of feels like filler to me personally. But I think Hugh Jackman gives a great performance.
One of his best performances, honestly.
He's so good in it. He's so good. He's so charismatic, and like he's so lovable, and that's what makes like the things that happen. I'm like, why do I love this guy still, even though he's like doing these terrible things? And I don't know. It like I said, there is complex themes within the film, but none of them really kind of like make me want to dig into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a so-so movie. And then what else did I watch? Oh, so I've been listening to this band called Shoo Shoo. And they're this industrial experimental band, and they released an album last year called Girl with Basket of Fruit. And it's one of the most horrific surreal experiences I've ever had. It feels like Eraserhead. No, it really does. It's very David Lynchy, and it kind of makes sense because Shoo Shoo's last album was Shoo Shoo Plays the Music of Twin Peaks, which is also a great album. And this Girl with Basket of Fruit is an album about violence against women, and that's the concept of the album. And it's I know this sounds weird. It's about violence against women, and they put you in the shoes of people enacting this violence against women, and it's so horrific and disturbing, but there's this deep message about how media plays a role in how people treat women at the same time. It's a very complex album. I don't know how to put it to words, but I think it's something everybody should listen to. Like if you guys have like 30 minutes, just listen to the album because it's a quick, horrific experience.
Whose album is it?
It's called Girl with Basket of Fruit.
By who? Like who?
Who?
Like whose album is it?
Shoo Shoo.
Oh, Shoo Shoo. Okay, Shoo Shoo.
So it's Xiu. And yeah, it's I don't really, because I feel disturbed by the album, honestly, because there are these horrific things happening to women. But like the woman that composed the entire album has said that she wanted listeners to feel how women feel in this world, like the kind of fear that they feel when they're walking down the street alone at night. And it encapsulates that, but I don't know how I feel about the whole idea of putting you in the shoes of the people that are enacting this violence, because it's kind of hard to stomach during certain points. But it's good. It's really good. Like I think it's kind of perfect, but it's not something I'll ever listen to again. Musically, it's not a melodic album. It's more of like a kind of a story being told. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I recommend everybody listen to it if you have the time. And that's basically all I did. Oh, I also watched Smiling Friends. I don't know if you guys keep up with like Oni Plays.
It's been a while. I've kind of, yeah.
But there's a Psychic Pebbles. He got a show on Adult Swim.
Oh.
And it's called Smiling Friends, and it's really, really funny. It's really funny.
Is it oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a pilot. And I recommend everybody like support it, because like I think it's harkening back to those like old Adult Swim, Newgrounds kind of humor without being the kind of gross out humor and like offensive humor that Newgrounds was. It's very much just the kind of absurdist style that a lot of Newgrounds artists had without that kind of offensive humor that occurs. And it's super, super funny. It's so funny.
Is it anything like what was the show Psychic Pebbles and Oni and Oni G had together? It was an anime show they had together. It was like 3 episodes, and they're like hysterical.
Is it Woodcutters or something like that?
No, what is it called? I just remember they have the Christmas episode.
Yeah, the Christmas
They're
episode.
caroling.
yeah. It's very much in that style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, but like the whole
Hellbenders.
It's in that style, but like with Smiling Friends, the concept of the show is these two friends work at an organization called Smiling Inc., where it's like a suicide hotline.
Oh God.
Where people that are on the edge of suicide. But it handles it really, really well, because there are moments that are kind of like they handle mental health really well. But like the animation style and everything around it is just so like funny at the time. I think it's something everybody, I think you guys should watch, or you, Sam, especially, because like it's really good. It's really, really good. And like you can watch clips on YouTube. It's not on Adult Swim's website, but like I found it on a certain website. I'll send you the link.
Please do.
Yeah, but Smiling Friends, great. I don't really want to spoil the episode because there is some like really funny gags throughout it. Nick Wolfhard's in it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Finn Wolfhard?
No, not Nick Wolfhard. Finn Wolfhard's in it.
Damn.
Yeah, the kid in Stranger Things. Finn Wolfhard.
Also, Kid in the Goldfinch.
Oh yeah, Goldfinch.
Hit film. Sorry, Ansel Elgort.
Goldfinch.
Hey boys, I'll be on still, but I just need to do a quick homework. All right.
Hey, you good?
Homework.
A research break.
Classes. I realized it.
Okay.
Right. I'll be listening, and when all that jazz comes through, I'll be coming out. But yeah.
Well, I think we're about to get to that. If
Yeah.
you're Landon.
Yeah, we're about to get to all that jazz.
Yeah.
I'm Smiling Friends. But yeah, my last thing I watched was Fosse versus Ferguson. Or not, yeah, Fosse versus Verdon. Yeah, Fosse versus Verdon. Because we watched all that jazz, and I'll talk about Fosse versus Verdon after we talk about all that jazz. So yeah.
Yeah. So all that jazz. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up I'm trying to pull up an image so I can you can read the tagline. So All That Jazz is the movie that I recommended. Excuse me. And I would like to start by reading the tagline for the film, which I think encapsulates the film very beautifully. It says, all that work, all that glitter, all that pain, all that love, all that crazy rhythm, all that jazz, which I think is the perfect epitome. Thank you. Yes. India. He's the perfect epitome of this film. So All That Jazz is directed and written, and I'm gonna double check this because I might be wrong. I believe it's also edited, or at least heavily involved with Bob Fosse. Bob Fosse is, if you don't know, the choreographer and the director of the stage version, the Broadway musical, and the film Cabaret, the Broadway musical Chicago. He did the choreography in the Little Prince musical in the 70s, and he has his own snake dance that is hilarious, especially if you don't know who Bob Fosse is. And he has a 10-minute segment of him dancing like a snake for no reason, just because he's Bob Fosse in the 70s. And the Little Prince, it's stupid. But what did we lose Adam to?
No,
Adam.
wrong.
Okay, he's back. Okay, I got scared. But Bob Fosse is this legendary choreographer and musical director who is very well known, very notorious for kind of being a terrible person. You know, kind of cheating on his wife and abusing drugs and, just being a bad person all the time. But what, just to clarify, it was not edited by Bob Fosse. It was edited by Alan Heim, Heim. Gotta give correct credits. Anyway, Bob Fosse, an interesting person, very fascinating person, made some incredible art, some incredible choreography and dances. Is an incredible talent. Maybe not an incredible person, probably not, probably a very bad person. And there was a period in his life where he was making the Broadway show of Chicago. He was also editing and his film, or like working the post-production of his film Lenny, which is about a comedian played by Dustin Hoffman, where he was kind of in a very bad place, where he was very, probably did a lot of shitty things, and also like just was abusing a lot of drugs and alcohol and living, kind of a bad life. And so after he had gotten through that moment in his career, he was really thinking about it and very retrospective about it. And out of that came All That Jazz, which I always describe as Bob Fosse's therapy session, where it's about a character named Joe Gideon, played by Roy Scheider, played beautifully by Roy Scheider. And it's very a thinly veiled Bob Fosse. Like, this is because the plot is about a very famous and very accomplished musical and film director who is currently coming up and directing a new play on Broadway, while at the same time editing a film about a comedian called The Stand-Up, and is being a really shitty person to people as he abuses drugs and alcohol. Sounds like Bob Fosse. And while I think at the time, and even now, some people look at this film as very self-indulgent and very about itself, because it is very about itself. It is very about Bob Fosse. I think what separates this from a lot of self-indulgent media is that Bob Fosse understands how terrible of a person he is. And the film is very critical of our main character, who is essentially Bob Fosse. It's very critical of Joe. It calls him out. He's not always in the right. He's just the character we're with. He just happens to be the protagonist. And we are along for the ride that is a colorful, fast-paced, emotional ride through his life, through all of the stress and situations he's in, while finding out more about him, culminating in a finale of musical numbers that is the only way he can process the things going on in his life is through musical numbers, as he hallucinates in the hospital from just heart complications and generally bad health. So before I let you all take the floor, because I want y'all's opinions before I say anything more, I just want to say that when I first saw this film, it was 2014, I want to say. Came out, it was a Criterion Collection Blu-ray. I'd heard about it. I heard it was a musical, heard the ending was great. I was like, okay, I should probably watch this. Watched it the first time, thought it was good. I wasn't in love with it, but I thought it was interesting. And then I had my girlfriend at the time watch it. I let her borrow a bunch of my movies, and she watched this, and she fell in love with it. She kept talking about it and just going on about it, and I was like, okay, there's something here. Like, clearly there is something here, and what she's saying has me thinking. And so I watched it again. And since that time, in probably 2015, I have watched All That Jazz at least once a year, and at times multiple times a year. It is a movie that I just get sucked into every time. I just get completely absorbed by it. And it is just such an incredible combination of every aspect that is involved in filmmaking. I believe I'm probably overselling the movie at this point, but I would love to hear what you guys think if anyone wants to take the stand at this point.
Too much jazz.
Too much jazz. You're right. There's a lot of jazz.
All the jazz.
No, I think the movie's like really, really vulnerable, and I don't know. It's a movie that really kind of like rings with me now, because like I don't really connect with Joe Gideon in like the actions that he commits, but I connect with his feelings. If you
Yes.
And I think that's so incredibly it shines a light not only on Fosse, but it also kind of shines a light on the viewer themselves by putting these kind of selfish thoughts and these kind of egocentric ideas and having people relate to them in a way that isn't being like, you should think this way. It's more of like, why do you think this way, and why do you get what are the words I'm looking for? Why do you think this way, and why do you feel like the world kind of revolves around you almost?
Right.
And I think that kind of focusing on those ideas and Joe as a character really it's really depressing, but it's also kind of freeing at the same time. Because I kind of felt like a weight off my shoulders after I watched the film. Because it is like I don't feel alone anymore, I guess you could say. I feel like I said, I don't connect with Fosse's actions, but I connect with his feelings. And those feelings are all the feelings that I'm feeling right now during this whole like pandemic kind of thing. And I think the way that he executes those ideas through music, through contemplation, and like giving allegory to that contemplation through imagery is so fascinating, like especially through musical numbers. And like the whole audience idea that occurs near the final moment of the film is just so breathtaking and just so, it's such a perfect idea of death portrayed. Not only death of a person, but kind of ego death at the same time. Because I feel like watching Fosse and Verdon and All That Jazz, I don't think it's Fosse. I feel like it's more Fosse. All That Jazz is talking about the death of his ego more than the death of him as a person. But that kind of carries throughout the entirety of the film. But yeah, I don't know. It's a movie that I have a hard time kind of like expressing my feelings for, because I feel like the feelings just cut so deep in this weird way that kind of like, they still kind of like sit with me. And like, there's certain things that I'll constantly think about. And I'm like, man, he did something.
So what's an example of a moment that you keep coming back to that seems to really resonate with you?
I think there's that moment where he's sitting during the table read of the like opening of, or not the opening, the beginning of like production for Chicago, and he's sitting at the table read. I I felt that overwhelming pressure of just trying to like juggle multiple things at once, and the way that they kind of portray the kind of stress, the anxiety, like panic. For him, it's a heart attack, but like I feel like they kind of embody this idea of panic attacks as well, really, really well. Because in my experience, that's how a lot of when I have panic attacks, I feel like this is the closest a movie's ever come to kind of like encapsulating that feeling, where it is this kind of it's this kind of moment where everything is just zoomed out and silent but loud at the same time, if you know what I mean.
And then there's certain things that are loud. There's weird things you focus on that aren't necessarily important in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you're so aware of everything that's going on around you while not understanding everything that's going on around you. And the way that they kind of play with the sound and like the idea of how he's supposed to be paying attention to what is occurring in front of him right now, but like he can only like focus on things that are happening to him personally. I don't know. I think it's so well done. And then there's that moment where he is during the first heart surgery, and where he it's kind of a self-reflective thought of how people are going to be once he's gone. And I think we've all envisioned, or I hope we've all envisioned.
I have.
Because I don't want to be like a psychopath, but I feel like we've all kind of like imagined how people would react if we died, kind of thing. And I think he kind of puts a lot of those thoughts and those ideas we have like in our darker moments, where we kind of see like, oh, if we're gone, like people will be better off, kind of thing. I think he puts that really well on screen through a musical number, but I think the intention and the heart and the feeling that he's trying to portray is really, really well done. I think it's a very complex dissection of depression, anxiety, and just addiction just in general. Like I don't suffer from addiction that much, but like depression and anxiety are things that I can connect with. And I feel like the way that Fosse kind of portrays it in this kind of not musical theater kind of esque thing is just it's so fragile, and it's just so well meaning, while also I don't know, it's just so special. It's just a special movie.
And I think to kind of just build off of your point real quickly, I think what makes it so special is how directly tied these vulnerable expressions of anxiety, of stress, of, you know, the darker moments in your life are expressed through art, where, you know, Bob Fosse's life was filmmaking, was directing, was, you know, choreography. These were the very important things to him. These are the things that drove him for expression. And that's how he expresses and processes things, right? Like there's the great sequence. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he is talking to his ex-wife. He's trying to work on the stage play, and just nothing's working. Everything seems terrible to him. And he goes to talk with his ex-wife, who was practicing her own number. And he's just kind of whining and complaining, and he has like a very relatable feeling that a lot of artists and creative people, I'm pretty sure all of us have felt, of just like, I'm a fraud, it's terrible, everything is like, nothing I do is right. And what I love, and then it kind of devolves into a sort of domestic argument.
Yeah, it's like a dance, but an argument. I don't know.
But what's so great about that sequence, I think I mentioned that, is how, like, you know, Joe Gideon is never in the right. Joe is never, you know, it's not a two-sided argument, right? The film isn't listening to both sides, because his ex-wife is always in his ex-wife is always so effortlessly dancing around him, and so effortlessly like moving through him almost, right? Of like he is not an obstacle in her way anymore, because she has moved on from the heartbreak, from the cheating, from the abuse, and she has gone on without him. And no matter what argument he makes, no matter what trick he tries to use to stop her, she knows exactly how to get out of it. She knows exactly how to maneuver it. And it seems like Joe is realizing this. Joe has come to realization about what she's saying and what she's meaning, and he doesn't like it. He's afraid of it. And so he leaves the conversation.
Mhm.
And then the very next scene is erotica, which is taking this fun, jaunty, very lighthearted musical number and turning it into an expression, like a musical and visual and dance exploration of I guess the best way to put it would be like meaningless sex and like one night stands, and the relationships people have where they are connected by attraction, experimentation, and looks, but there's nothing meaningful gained from it. Like you don't know the person that you seemingly connected with. And that's how he processes things, right? He's like, this is how he expresses how he's feeling. This is how he gets across what he's going through, which, like, that's what the movie is. The movie is just that process put onto screen beautifully, wonderfully,
Yeah.
And I think Landon and I have been rambling on. Unless you have a response, Landon. I don't know if you want to jump in on this, Adam, or if you have another point.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything you guys are saying, and I think my main takeaways are what really stuck with me over the weekend. And so it's a part of the movie, but it's more so the song, the one that's my Zoom background here. The closing song, which is sort of a reworking of the Everly Brothers' "Bye Bye Love." It's reworked that it's "Bye Bye Life," and it's just kind of this whole. It starts out as basically kind of its aim is Roy Scheider saying he thinks he's going to die, but then it turns into everyone in the audience is someone who was a part of his life, whether it's his ex-wife, his daughter, his doctors, the hospital that he's hallucinating this in, and he goes to pretty much all of them. I don't think he goes up to the doctor, but it's kind of like his parting exchange with each of them, that while he can't have it in life, he has it in his head, and that kind of gives him closure in a sense. And but it's like a 10-minute scene. It's really good, and it ends with it ends really abruptly with where I don't remember exactly where the music's at, but it just immediately snap cuts to him from him approaching Jessica Lange, who plays the Angel of Death in the movie, and snap cuts to him being zipped up in a body bag at the hospital. And it's just, overall, it's a really powerful scene, but I think what really helps that is that the song would not get out of my head for about 2 days straight. Which isn't a bad thing. It's a great song.
It's such a depressing song, though. It's so like upbeat and joyous, and that's why it got stuck in your head. But like the lyrics are just so depressing. They're so depressing.
And one of the other scenes I really liked too was both the ones I'm gonna really talk about are at the end, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's about 20 minutes left when he gets up in the hospital and he starts just kind of aimlessly wandering around the hospital, like in the basement and in the morgue and all this stuff. There's parts of it that are kind of funny, but at the same time it's also super, super anxiety inducing. Like, I don't know why it was, but I was like super anxious during the whole thing because it's getting close to the end for him.
And well, you also know, his condition. What he's risking by doing this. You know that, like, not only is near the end of the movie, but like this is his second attack. This is his second heart attack. Like, he's not in a stable place. He's just freely wandering. This hospital. Like, who knows what could happen?
Roy Scheider's so good in it, though.
Roy Scheider is incredible in this film, and
this is Oscar.
I wish. But one thing I want to mention, because you mentioned Jessica Lange as the Angel of Death, and I think she's more just death in general. And I think what I think adds to this film so much are those portions of the film that are taking place in Joe Gideon's head, where it's him or like in a subconscious or just in some other plane of existence where he is interacting with death. And I think it shows that connection that him and I think a lot of us have with death, where, you know, for someone like Joe, and maybe even Bob Fosse, if we want to look that deeply into it, is someone who lives life constantly playing a part, like with many different hats. You know, like the idea of, you know, they lie so much they don't know where the truth begins, and they just adapt into these roles, and they just inhabit them no matter where they are. They're so used to life, like kind of with his morning routine, which is played out so many times throughout the film, where he gets up, gets in the shower, takes his pills, takes his you know, dissolves his pills and does the, you know, time, right? Like it's just, that's him preparing for his role of being Joe Gideon in whatever situation he needs to be in. And I think what is so fascinating about portraying death as a beautiful woman, and Joe Gideon being a womanizer, of course, will be attracted to it. But it almost feels like I mean, these sequences are literally Joe Gideon flirting with death, right? It's literally him becoming closer and understanding death, and they are both understanding each other. It's at the beginning of a relationship. You know, they're talking about each other, they're finding out about each other, they're testing the waters. You know, there's a great sequence when Joe Gideon first has, like, you first notice his like heart problems. It's a great, I forget if it's that necessarily, but there's like a sequence where he's like clearly like coughing and like having heart problems, and they're having this exchange, and Jessica Lange is getting closer and closer to him, and is like putting her hand up to his head, and he like grabs her hand, and it's like, no, like it's not time yet, like.
Oh yeah, it's like when she's like trying to kiss him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's that, you know, it's portraying this relationship with death like it is a romantic relationship, because I don't know if he's in love with death, but he's fascinated by it. I think he's fascinated by death because it's as the film says, it's the only thing that's real, right? It's the only thing that's going to force him. It's the only, the fear of death and like not even fear of death, just death itself is the only thing that can get Joe to be honest with himself and to be true and to do right by the people around him, to get rid of these masks and these performances, right?
Yeah.
Where he constantly is saying things to women just because he thinks that's the right thing to say, right? He's constantly doing things just because he thinks he has to, rather than doing what he really wants to a certain extent. And I think that relationship is just so fascinating, and it's just so well done. It's such a great job of like giving us the backstory of Joe Gideon and why he feels this way and why he's doing things. And I just love the set design of his subconscious, where it's just a bunch of like, you know, old props and stages and mirrors and everything. I just think it's so inspired. I think it's so genius, and so it gives a unique film an even more unique aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way those scenes are set up, like, it's not just like the props and stuff. I really liked how it was there. It's like his life that's just kind of scattered around him. Like there's like, I think, a sign in his apartment that you can see in the background in that subconscious room or whatever. And I just think they just kind of threw everything in there like you would be remembering fragments of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I was reading up after watching the film and then like the show. I was reading up that the Bob Fosse's second wife, Joanne McCracken, I think her name is.
Mm-hmm.
She died at a very, very young age. She was 42 when she died, and the character in of death and all that jazz resembles his wife, his second wife, in her costume. One of the first movies Joanne McCracken was in, she wore a very like elegant white dress like that. And I was reading that Bob Fosse kind of like was really upset with the passing of his second wife because he left his second wife for Gwen Verdon. And he kind of like abandoned her, and she had a lot of medical problems, and then she died shortly after that, and he was so upset with himself. So I'm not going to say I love, but it's so meaningful that he kind of pays tribute to his second wife by kind of his idea of flirting with death, and like this idea of embracing with death kind of will make him closer to his second wife almost. It's this kind of poetry that is also that is prevalent if you know the personal life of Fosse. And I think the audience not knowing that directly kind of show you how personal this is to Fosse. He isn't just making this for the audience. He's making it as a kind of therapy session for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, I'll talk about this later. I want to know, Brandon, what did you think?
Yeah. Good to know. Good insight.
It slaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a lot. I was in and out, but I heard a lot of what everyone said, and I agree with Sam's and Landon's and Adam's kind of interpretations of the film. More than anything, though, I think that what I can just kind of add to the conversation at this point is kind of just his relationship with death, and how, because I know you guys both said this, but yeah, his relationship with death, and that throughout the film, you can see in the beginning, his fascination with death is there, but like and as the film goes along, he gets more and more afraid of her, and she starts to pursue him as the film goes along. But when it begins, he's kind of just playfully flirting with her. But you can see that fear, especially towards the later part of the film, where it becomes like the fancy dream sequence, which is like incredible. Like I remember the first time I saw it, and it's kind of terrifying. And the last scene too, where he's gliding through the
oh my God.
It's beautiful, but it's terrifying.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so good because like the music starts to build up for the chorus, and then it just so abruptly ends.
It's so, like, I mentioned it when we were watching it, and it's like, it's so nihilistic that it's beautiful, because it's like, all right, this whole film has been leading to this moment where he finally confronts death, and he gets with her, and he's thinking it's going to be this big thing, but then it's just a cut, and he just zips, and then the fade to the curtain. And it's like, okay, this is what your whole life has led up to, you being zipped up in a body bag. And like, it's anticlimactic, but in the best way possible. And it's just and it's a testament to the genius of Bob Fosse. And the whole film is kind of a love letter to people with egos, and more than anything, artists with egos. Because you can't be as successful as Bob Fosse or Joe Gideon without having that ego, without having that sense of purpose, that you're here for a greater purpose. And whether it's confronting death, whether it's making great art, that ego is the thing that pushes you through there. And through that, you might lose people you love most, like your wife or your daughter or whatever. And that's something that we've kind of that's a theme we've kind of seen through all the films, not through all the films, but like through Misaku Sai, to like be in pursuit of becoming a great artist, you lose things that should be held like closest to you. And I don't know, I just think that's a really, really profound idea. And I think the film is incredible. I think it's a masterpiece, like by far.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's just, I mean, I just think that, like, I don't know. I'm just so in love with this film and the way it discusses its topics, and the way it like the fact that, all four of us watch this movie and we all have similar ideas but different ways of reading it and perceiving it, like, I just think it's such like what you said, Landon, it's such a vulnerable movie. It's such a, it's a movie that is so open about its creator and about its character that it becomes so relatable. It becomes so emotional and so raw. Like, just that the hospital hallucination sequence, where it is all of the most important people in his life, the women in his life, his relationship to them, all kind of, I think you mentioned this, Landon, and also you, Brandon, just like mentioning, like they all kind of come out and are like, you need to like change. You need to like stop what you're doing and get a clue. You need to just get better with your life, because we're gonna miss you. We're gonna be fine though.
Yeah.
We will be fine without you, but like for your own sake, like I just always love the sequence with all of the women that he slept with where they have their own number, because they all wear the same outfit. They all have the same makeup. And this was something I noticed.
He didn't sleep with his daughter though. Let's put that.
No. That's what I'm saying, is that these are separate from his wife, daughter, and mistress. I should clarify. You're right, or his girlfriend. They're just random women he slept with throughout his life. And what I noticed this time around is they all have similar faces. They all have similar like shaped heads and shaped faces. So they all look alike because that's how he perceives them. He can't differentiate them, right? They're meaningless affairs. And they all have this thing of like, hey, who's sorry now? Like, yeah, we cried about you, but we're not dead. Like, we're not dying on a hospital bed. We don't have these regrets. Maybe if you treated us better, you wouldn't be here. Maybe if you've done something with your life, we wouldn't be in this situation.
You know what would be a great double feature with this movie is Anomalisa.
I mean,
you talked about like the similar faces, but I feel like the main character in Anomalisa and Joe Gideon are very similar in a lot of ways, where they are these kind of egocentric people that view everyone as just an object around them.
But in a weird way, I don't know how else to say this, because I don't know if it's... I feel like All That Jazz is like more complex. I don't know. I feel like Anomalisa kind of like loses steam by the end. Like, I love it, but I just think by the end it kind of like goes, yep, that sucks, and then ends, and you're like, oh, okay. And then All That Jazz is kind of like, all right, but like if you die, like how does that feel in Death of Ego, and like getting more in depth and really interrogating the art and the artist, I guess. And that might just be preference over quality, but I just find that way more interesting. But I think you're right. It could be a really great double feature of like these egocentric characters who have people that like seem similar to them and are so similar they aren't engaged in life anymore.
Yeah.
All I know is that when I die, I want to go out with a musical number like that.
It's also kind of similar to the ending of Midnight Gospel, where we talked about like, the whole bus at the end of Midnight Gospel, and it's all the people to him.
I never thought of that. Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like extremely similar, but like that whole idea of like death and the people that are close to you, and like how they kind of like carry on throughout your death. But yeah, what was the other thing that I was going to bring up?
Did you want to bring up any more connections to the show, or was it something about the movie itself?
It was something about I wanted to talk about one specific moment near the end that kind of like, it made me tear up a lot. And I can't explain why, but it's that moment where he goes up to the woman, the old woman that's in the bed, and he just like lightly like just like pecks her on the cheek or pecks her on the lips, and like he's like, it's okay. And I don't know, it's such a tender moment with somebody, a character that isn't even a character, it's just like a background character almost. And for me, like, it was almost like, because like his beginning, the beginning of his like sexual life was with an older women that molested him, and I think this moment is him kind of like putting that to rest almost. I don't know. I think there has to be a meaning there, but it affected me in this kind of deep way. I can't explain why.
The way I kind of look at it, and I didn't even think about that sort of like reconciling with his past, or like that aspect of his past, of his beginning relationship with women. I always thought of it, or at least now I'm thinking of it as like, he has these meaningless affairs and these meaningless relationships that no one gets anything out of, like he sleeps with these women. What does anyone gain? Nothing. It's just a meaningless thing. They go their separate ways, whatever. But here is a moment where he can be intimate with someone and have an effect on them, right?
Mhm.
Of like almost showing, again, that vulnerability of like realizing that through the 5 stages of death, which is a big part of the film, is like that acceptance of death, of sort of seeing someone else in pain, someone else who probably is in their own 5 stages of death, and then just being there for them, you know, and just being able to just come in, make it go away for a bit, be tender, be kind, you know, be intimate, and just like give them this one moment. And how much more powerful and emotionally fulfilling that can be for everyone involved, you know, of like doing something for someone else rather than being selfish, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
I feel it's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. There's also one other thing I wanted to talk about. Um, it kind of goes in line with the show Fosse and Verdon, but like I learned through the show that the character that plays his girlfriend is actually the character that she is the person that was his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I found that so fascinating. And there's a scene in Fosse and Verdon where she applies for that role, or like auditions for that role, and it's such like a powerful moment where he's like, he keeps getting her to say that, like that line and that argument that they had in the bedroom where like she says, "I wish you weren't so generous with your cock."
Yeah.
Line. And it's like this kind of like torturous thing, but like it kind of shows how Fosse was so obsessed with finding the art in reality, kind of like Miss Hakusai and like things like that. And he pulls like the original emotion that Anne actually had from that scene out in the audition and also in the film in general. And I find that so fascinating on how he was able to do it. Also, just watch Fosse and Verdon. It's so good. It's so good. Like it also just expands on Verdon as a person because she's not really focused on that much in the movie. She's there. She's a constant presence throughout the film. But like there's definitely much more depth to her.
And who is Verdon? I just so we can be clear.
Michelle, huh?
Michelle Williams.
Yeah, Michelle Williams.
Well, no, sorry. So in real life, who is Verdon? Like who is this person?
Oh, he was his wife.
Right. Okay.
Gwen Verdon. Yeah. They never got divorced. That's something else that's really interesting. Is Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse never got divorced? They just kind of separated.
She was there for him till like the end of his life, though. Like,
yeah, his last moment. I don't want to spoil, but like.
Oh yeah.
Well, and one thing I'll say is the Criterion release for All That Jazz is one of my favorite releases by them because it is just fucking packed with like interviews. There's a really great interview with Bob Fosse himself in there that's really great, and there's a lot of interviews with everybody else. They have a great interview between his girlfriend and the girl that plays his girlfriend in the film, and the woman that played his daughter. And at the time was a girl, but now is an adult. And they talk about working on the film and working on that like dance scene they have, which is another great moment in the film where they have that dance sequence or like that routine that's done for Joe, and just like deleted scenes and just like it's just so packed with so much stuff about the film, about Bob Fosse and about the people around him and what it was like to work with him and to work on something that is so personal, that is so vulnerable and raw, and like how he took it. And like he just kept saying, one of the things that always stuck with me, like on set, he was always like, this isn't about me. Like Joe Gideon isn't me, even though like it is him, but he never let anybody see that. I don't know. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, I think the show, like the final episode of the series as well, of Fosse Verdon, it kind of shows how this movie impacted people in his life just in general. Like there's a lot of like hate and disdain against this movie from the people in his life because he is directly pulling these kind of intimate moments and putting it in the film, which kind of adds a new layer to the film, I think personally. Like, you know, the dance number that he has with his daughter?
Yeah.
Like that was something that him and his real life daughter actually like had while he was writing like the script for the film. And he literally just pulled that word for word and put it directly into the film. And like there's a scene in the show where it just shows like his daughter like watching on set like what's occurring, and she just storms off. She's like, and that's the last time you ever see her interact with her dad, and it's heartbreaking.
God.
It's so heartbreaking, but I don't know. Slaps.
Need to watch this show.
This movie's special. And
Yeah,
I now have like this fascination with Bob Fosse as a person, and I don't know why. I think it's so interesting.
I would highly recommend the snake dance from The Little Prince, directed by the guy that directed Singing in the Rain, and stars Gene Wilder as the fox.
Wow.
And like it's a musical, and all the songs are terrible. And we watched it in my French class after we had read The Little Prince, and it's such a divergent change. It's so different. It's kind of hilarious. It's just it's a lot to him.
Prince, an animated movie as well.
Well, okay, so yeah, so The Little Prince is like a novel from the early 1900s. It's like beautiful. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. And they kept trying to make movies out of it, and we watched like most of the movie versions that they tried to make, and they're all bad. They're all terrible because they don't just want to adapt the story. They want to like expand it and like make it a musical or make it like something else. And the only version of it that's good is the recent animated version, which is incredible because half of it is there's like 3/3. There's three sections of the film. There is the retelling of the Little Prince story, like word for word, through visuals. These really beautiful like visuals that capture the art style of the book. There's the story of the little girl that is hearing the Little Prince story from someone who claims to be a character in the book. And then there is the last like 40 minutes of the movie that is directly applying the message of the book to the main plot line to sort of like expand on the ideas of the film and make it more relevant to children. And it's fascinating. I don't know if it works all the time, but it's a fascinating movie.
I'll check it out because I've
Netflix movie.
Huh?
It's a Netflix movie.
Netflix.
It's great.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Netflix.
But any closing thoughts on all that jazz? Anything else you want to add? Any points?
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. The closing number slaps.
Yeah, you're welcome.
5 stars and a like.
I will admit I was kind of nervous showing this because one time they showed this at the Bird Theater here in Richmond, and I brought some friends to see it. Friends that are not super analytical about film, but kind of watch it and have one take and then are done. And they all thought it was like okay, and I was like, maybe the movie isn't that good. Maybe it's just like a me thing. And so I've still loved it, but I was always like, I don't know if it's like that great. And so watching it with you guys really did help to reinstill my love and to like remember what makes this movie so special and like make me obsessed with it again. So thank you guys for letting me indulge in that and for giving me such great feedback and things to think about. I also obviously gave it 5 stars, and it's in my Letterboxd like top 4 favorite movies. So
it's creeping up there for me, honestly, as well.
Because it's one of 2 movies that's always been there in my top 4. It's been
what's the second one?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Hell yeah!
But that's just because that movie is incredibly important to me, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. If you don't like it, I understand. But also, that movie changed my life. So
I re-ranked. I really love ranking movies. You guys know that well. I re-ranked 1979 once adding all that jazz into it. I'm having a really hard time deciding the top 3 spots between All That Jazz, Alien, and Life of Brian. I love all 3 movies.
Is it that hard of a choice?
It's not that hard.
It's that hard of a choice. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? Life of Brian, classic. Alien, influential. But like, is there anything like All That Jazz? Like the closest comparison is 8.5, and I would argue 8.5 is a movie that like. I'm a tiny rant. The problem with 8.5 is that the problem with 8.5 is also its biggest strength is that it's a movie about the making of itself.
Mhm.
And so like that's fascinating. But it also means the movie has nowhere to fucking go. And so it just kind of meanders for like 2 hours and you're like, what the fuck are you saying? And the director's like, I don't know, dude. Throwing stuff out there and you're like, that's cool, but like what's happening? He's like, I don't know, man. Here's a kid in a marching band. All right, see ya, go home. And you're like, I guess that was cool. And then like All That Jazz is great because it's like, all right, here's the plot, here's the characters, here's the here's the beginning, the middle, the end. We're gonna experiment. We're gonna have some weird stuff here and there. We're gonna play with the editing, but you get a narrative. You know, you get a story that you can latch onto, and then like have the fear of existential dread at the same time.
Right now, it's my number one from that year. But I definitely still need to rewatch those other two. It's been probably 6 years.
Mm-hmm. But
Alien's good.
no, Alien's great.
It is.
Alien is a classic. Life of Brian is great, but are they all that jazz? I don't think so.
Are they all that jazz?
I think so.
All right.
right.
Any last notes about All That Jazz?
It had all the jazz.
It had all of the jazz. I own the soundtrack on vinyl, not to brag. I own the soundtrack on vinyl. I found it for $3 at Plan 9. It was used. Yeah, dude.
Interesting.
He's like had it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna get this." And for a while, I just listened to Bye Bye Life on vinyl.
I wanted to listen to it on my walk today, but it's not on iTunes or Apple Music, I should say.
You just download it. If you do what I did, and you just download it off of YouTube, you can have the copy forever, the whole 9 minutes.
That's true.
The best part about having the recording was it was from like the beginning of the song to when like they zip up tag. So it'd be like every time, and then I just get really sad. But it was great.
That's just the end. All right. It's the end.
And then just rewind, just like restart. Loop.
All right.
One thing I wanted to talk about with that, I think it's brilliant that the last thing you see the doctor do near the end of the number is check his watch.
Yes.
But like small things like that, because it's like him marking the time of death. And it's such a small detail, but it's so good. And then also like the sound effects that bleed in from reality into the dance number, like the like I think it's like this kind of like laser sound.
Yes.
That's like supposed to like represent some of the equipment in like the room itself. I think it's so well done. But yeah, Adam, what's your choice?
Here we go.
Okay. So my intro for this was going to be we're watching a musical that starts with a P to trick you guys into thinking I was actually going to make you watch Pitch Perfect. But I can't.
But we're not watching Pitch Perfect. We're watching Pitch Perfect 2.
But I came up with something better. So we had, I kicked things off with the musicals. We had the visual adaptation of an album. We had a documentary about a performance with Stop Making Sense. We had the revival of a brand with the Muppets. And we had a musical drama with All That Jazz. And now we're going to watch a mockumentary. I started the musical trend. I'm going to end it. And this week we're watching Pop Star.
Oh, yeah.
Never stopping. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited because I'm the only one here that hasn't seen it. I've said this, I think, every
Oh, you haven't?
Adam, I've said this every single week.
I forgot that.
Literally every week of the show. Somehow Popstar has come up, and I have said I haven't seen Popstar yet.
I thought it hadn't been for a while. It's been for a while with me. I haven't seen it in probably 3.5 years or more. I know I watched it in like the fall of 2016, so I'm excited to rewatch it.
Wait, is it streaming anywhere? It was on HBO.
I couldn't find it. I'm gonna try to dig it up somewhere. It's on Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Amazon Prime, iTunes.
But how much does it cost?
$3.99.
I got $3.99.
Real quick, while I'm thinking, this was part of the Lost episode. While I'm thinking about it, the episode that got screwed up. What were you guys' favorite moment from The Wall when we watched it? I want to know because I forgot.
My favorite moment was the song that was added to the movie that wasn't in the album.
What shall we do now? Yeah.
Yeah, the animated sequence with like the buildings forming the wall, and you have the face coming out, and I was like, "What?"
That's
I feel
also
like
my
if
favorite.
I feel like if I was a 14-year-old in the 80s, I'd be like, "Bruh, what?" Like my mind would be blown. But yeah, that was my favorite part, just the visuals and animation. I mean, if like I've discovered in the past few years, if you have anything animated, I'm gonna watch it and probably enjoy it on some level because animation fascinates me. I adore it.
Landon, I remember you said your favorite part was the credits.
Yes.
And Brandon, no, yours was the honey ad. That's right.
Yeah, the honey. Brandon's was the honey ad.
Oh, for the Doug Walker, The Wall.
Well, if we want to talk about favorite parts of Doug Walker's The Wall,
Yeah,
then,
I can do that.
then it's the weird monster fetish section,
I was gonna say.
which I keep trying to describe to people and I can't. I keep trying to tell people what happened, and they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, I don't either, and I saw it.
You just have to see it. It's hard to describe.
I'll stand by it. Doug Walker's The Wall is more enjoyable than Pink Floyd's The Wall. I'm gonna stick by it. I had more fun.
What's the thing where you pick a number again? Like, what's it?
Oh, what are the odds?
Yeah. All right. What are the odds I can get you The Wall?
We've already done
Do
this.
the honey
I'm
ad.
not
Do the honey ad at least.
No, I'm not doing it.
What?
I've already played this. I'm not
This can be your thing you dedicate your time to.
You can play it again if you come up with a different prompt.
Landon, no.
I keep doing the same prompt over and over again.
Okay. Do the Les Mis number at the end of the Les Mis review.
No, I don't want to do anything Doug Walker related. I refuse.
Why?
Do you not respect art? Do you not respect an auteur when you see it?
But yeah, I was going back and forth on several movies for this week. The movie I decided not to choose, we'll do next time, but we're doing Popstar this week.
Tomahawk?
No, it's something different.
It's perfect.
No.
Up in the Air?
No.
The one about Anna Kendrick and the sex doll?
No.
Queefy?
Queefy?
The Queefy?
Queefy? Oh my God.
Do you guys want to talk about the Five Bloods real quick?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it
It comes
out?
out in what, 2-3 weeks?
Like 3 weeks, something like that. How do you
The
feel?
trailer's out.
How do you feel about the
I
trailer?
haven't seen the trailer.
Haven't seen the
I think it's really it looks really promising.
It's really like, I think it's sad because it was supposed to be at Cannes and it's like a reminder of like what isn't, but I think it's going to be really good. Looks really good.
Yeah, it looks very, very, very good.
Spike Lee is this like talent. Whenever he like makes period pieces, which is all of his films usually, he has a talent of capturing like the eras. Like each film takes place in so well with the music and the color and like footage from like, I don't know, like really obscure events like comedy sets or like protest or whatever. He like has a really, really great talent of like immersing the viewer into like whatever setting he's in. And like even in the trailer for the Five Bloods, like you can get that sense that this is kind of the same film that it's like a Black Panther or whatever. So I'm really, really excited for it.
Yeah, I like the way that they're showing the aspect ratio, how that's going to change as well.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting. Sure. But yeah, they don't give away too much, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm excited.
I was trying to stay away from the trailer in case they did give away a lot, but if they're not, I'll check it out.
Yeah. It kind of like shows you the setting and like the basic idea of what the movie's going to be about, but it doesn't tell you a lot.
It's not like Black Klansman where it shows one of the last shots of the movie.
No, it doesn't show the last shot. It might show the last shot of the movie. I don't know.
That's true.
But who knows? All right.
Yep. All right. That was Cinemania. Thank you guys for joining us. My name's Branch. I'm sorry I had diarrhea. So also, I was doing homework too, but mostly it was the diarrhea. sorry I couldn't be here for a lot of the show, but thank you for sticking around.
You still contributed a lot though. You were still there.
Thank you. Tried my best. Next week, I promise I'll like get some Pepto or like something to help ease the transition. But yeah, thank you for joining us. I really, really appreciate. We all really appreciate you like spending time with your next like hour or so with us. I'm your host, Brandon Schellingford, alongside me and my co-host,
Landon Roberts,
Adam Cheek,
and Sam, all that jazz, Goodrich.
All right, join us next week.
Bye life, Goodrich.
Bye-bye. Don't say that. Okay, so
bye happiness.
Hello, yeah. Join us next week. We're going to talk about Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping, Adam's pick. But yeah, have a great week, everyone. Stay safe. All right, goodbye. Watch some good movies.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.